thunder shakes the earth. Voices of the martyrs call. The dawn of the church is birth. Flame ignites in the hearts of men. Peter's voice bold, unbroken, preaching the word again and again. From Pentecost, the Spirit descends, a torrent of power to loose and bind. The lame shall walk, the blind shall see, the light of Christ for all mankind. Glory for the righteous, the faithful sail. The gates of Hades will not prevail. Trials and heresies triumph over lies. The orthodox succeed to heretics' demise. The truth of the word continues to rise. The Arians rise with corrupted creed, denying the sun, sowing bad seed. Homosios, the banner unfurled. Alexander Athanasius, teach the world. Eunomius, Macedonius, dimmed by doubt. Constantinople, cast all of them out. The Cappadocians rose to fight. Trinity, 3 in 1, let there be light. Glory for the righteous, the faithful sail. The gates of Hades will not prevail. Through trials and heresies triumph over lies. The orthodox succeed to heretics' demise. The truth of the word continues to rise. Astoria seeks to divide the Lord, but Cyril stands with strength restored. One person of Christ, the other goes crowned. The voice of truth shall divine and man in Christ united, the eternal plan. Leo's tone, the faithful cheer. The church stands strong, forever clear. Glory for the righteous, the faithful sail. The gates of Hades will not prevail. Through trials and heresies triumph over lies. The orthodox succeed to heretics' demise. The truth of the word continues to rise. False teaching sway the unfaithful. Vigilius repents and is grateful. Christ has two wills into energies, maximals and agatho, eternal memory. Icons raise, the faithful sing. The image of Christ, a holy thing. Honor the saints, the faithful see. John Damascene, holy orthodoxy. Through fire and trial, persecution and flame, the Orthodox Church marches on in Jesus' name. Martyrs and fathers, voices of might, defenders of truth, uncreated love. Glory for the righteous, the faithful sail. The gates of Hades will not prevail. Through trials and heresies triumph over lies. The orthodox succeed to heretics' righteous, the faithful sail. The gates of Hades will not prevail. Through trials and heresies, triumph over lies. The orthodox succeed to heretics' demise. The truth of the word continues to rise.
What's up, everybody? Unmute fallacy right off the bat, eh? How's it going? Glad to see everybody here. Glad to see Father Stephen DeYoung in the chat already. This is awesome. Typos are hitting hard today. Yo, somebody was saying, let me find this comment here. Before we even get into the content today, one guy in the chat was talking about saying that my thumbnail was too mean or something. It's Gabriel 5117. Thank you for tuning into the stream, by the way. I very much appreciate it. But it says, I am not even Protestant, but the thumbnail is too pathetic. Being Protestant or any denomination has nothing to do with gender. Duh. Obviously, those Protestants don't slander people. Why EOs always do that? I'm not slandering anybody. That was their own topic, dude, in the video. They talk about, is Protestantism feminized? That's why I have a question mark in the thumbnail. So maybe before we cast judgment, wait to hear each side of the argument, right? So, all right, Skittles comment. Yeah. A jacket is fine. I don't really know what that means, but I'm assuming that's a compliment. What's up, Compendium? I don't know about this music, Alex. And yeah, music is a very personal thing. So introducing, reading your message before hitting send. Yeah, that's important, especially writing an email. Oh, we got a comment on Twitch from Hemamoth. Very snazzy, my Alex. I don't know if I'm your Alex, but Compendium with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Compendium. Thank you very, very much. Prattle equals woman prattle. That's funny, Silver Ogre. That's funny. Yo, yes. Yeah. Of course, Protestant doesn't have reading comp. Well, I mean, I don't want to come down too hard on him. I don't know if he's a new guy or like understands my sense of humor or anything like that. So we want to extend a little bit of grace. But is that jacket from the Saul Goodman collection? I wish I would have like secret compartments for like evidentiary tricks all over the place. But I think he does have like the more ostentatious jackets. So, so okay. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of tonight. Let's not dilly-dally too much here, guys, because I do want to maybe get some call-ins and then get out of here. Hopefully in like 2.5, 3 hours, we can get everything fit in here. So there's this discourse going on at this time where, oh, dude, what is this background? I sense a bit of tone policing, basically. Sense a bit of tone policing going on. Our Protestant and Roman Catholic friends are not happy with how we are holding ourselves. This background is like horrendous. That's a little better. Okay. They're not happy with how we are holding ourselves out. And I think this is good for apologetics to have different people of different backgrounds going in, not just like an academic theological background, but like also obviously a pastoral background. And at the same time, like Jay comes with a philosophical background. Cleve comes with a Protestant pastoral background. I have a litigator background, right? So the way we analyze texts and the way we engage in debate and the way we formulate arguments is like very unique. And all of this adds to the diversity of online apologetics, which is the kind of diversity you want, intellectual diversity, not diversity just for the sake of it. You want everybody to be able to add their takes and to contribute what they can. However, The old guard is against that. There's I sensed this for a while, that there's like a certain racket going on between like certain apologetics at at this time, and I don't have evidence of this, so take it for what it's worth, right? But I sense out there in the internet sphere that there are certain relationships that apologetics have to where, like, yeah, we'll go up and like, it's like a fixed fight, like a fixed boxing fight. Like when you're going to have a debate, it's like, yeah, we'll go and we'll spar a little bit back and forth, but don't take it too far, and I won't take it too far either, And I'm not saying this was the case because I have no evidence to prove this at all. This is just a whim. But I watched the debate between Trent Horn and Gavin Ortlund, and I feel like Trent Horn pulled back a lot of punches because there were a lot of issues that he could have pressed on more where you would see Gavin's theological system just crumble. And now we have a bunch of people that don't care about this system, that don't care about this old guard, that don't care about this racket that's going on between the apologists. People like myself, like Jay, are like, look, we're going to debate and we're going to go hard in this debate. Okay. Like, I'm not pulling back any punches. I'm not holding back. We are going to see which theological system can withstand scrutiny. And, you can do that in a way that is staunch in your position. And you don't have to be a pushover either. And you don't have to be overly polite. There's this like ivory tower, like sphere of protection that these academics are far too used to. They haven't actually been cross-examined in real life. They don't know what real cross-examination is. I've done hundreds, if not in the thousands, of cross-examinations, probably somewhere in that zone of, average, normal people, lay people, police officers, doctors, all smart people, not so smart people, white collar people, blue collar, all kinds of people. And we have a certain style in litigation of cross-examination. What you're seeing in these debates is not cross-examination between like these pop apologists, right? That is not real actual cross-examination. That is a racket. That is a racket because they don't want to destroy anyone's careers. And this is just my analysis. Okay. I'm not, again, I don't have any text messages showing some sort of collusion or anything, but I'm just looking at the debates and these guys are pulling punches. Imagine like Joe Rogan analyzing, I'm not saying like I'm Joe Rogan or anything, but imagine Joe Rogan analyzing a fight and being like, I'm very familiar with fighting. It is very apparent to me that this person is pulling punches. Okay. I am very familiar with cross-examinations, with debates, with argument. I see people pulling punches, dude. I see people pulling punches. And now they're trying to put up this like veil, this wall of protection. They're trying to exclude the new people that don't care about this racket. Like, again, Wes Huff, Gavin Ortlund, these guys will never debate Jay. They will never debate me. Okay, I'm punching up a little bit. I get it. Like, my channel is small. It's minuscule compared to theirs. They have no reason really to debate me other than me making a lot of noise on Twitter, right? Fine. I acknowledge this. Nonetheless, Jay has a large channel. He won't debate them. They won't engage with Jay at all. $10 from Branwolf1. Thank you very much. Trent hates debates because he loses them. Well, I think he had the upper hand in the debate with Gavin, and he really let him go on a few points. Like, there was one point, I don't remember this section verbatim, but he said something like, are there any views that you have that match up to the Christians of, let's say, the first 4 centuries? And the one thing Gavin could come up with was usury. Usury. Are you kidding me? Usury? That's the only one thing you have in common with the Christians in the first 3-4 centuries? So I don't think it went very well for Trent in his debate with Jay. Now, that was not a good one for Trent. But in his debate with Gavin Ortlund, I thought he had the upper hand a few times, and he let him get away. Also, I think he did okay in his debate with James White. I think he held himself well in that one. Thank you for the super chat. We got $5 from Likeich. $5. Thank you very much. Every one of Gavin's public debates seem carefully curated to prevent his system from being questioned. Even his debate with Father Stephen DeYoung avoided that. Well, I know Father Stephen DeYoung will be very precise with his words here, and he will say, he doesn't do debates. He has a personal rule, from what I remember, that he does not do debates. But yes, I agree that he was very, very careful in how he spoke. And I guess Father Stephen DeYoung could say more about the rules of that debate. So, well, it wasn't a debate. It was a dialogue. It was a dialogue. Father Stephen DeYoung was very, very clear about that. Gavin does not believe in usury. His church probably sells their albums without charging interest. I mean, I hope so. Certainly hope so. So Trent versus that Mormon wasn't great either. I mean, it's part of the racket. You know, if you go in and destroy somebody, then nobody's going to want to debate you after. But I am not in it for producing content. I am in it for bringing the heterodox back into the church. So if your system is bad, I see my job as I'm going to expose that this theological system is bad, that it doesn't work. Father Stephen had both hands tied behind his back and still crushed Gavin charitably. Yeah. Okay, let's see a little bit of what Huff and Ortlund have to say. I like how just like how Joe avoided Chad Alex. Well, yeah, I think that was a pretty definite sidestep there. So, okay. Let's see what Huff and Ortlund have to say.
So we're all struggling with that. Let's say, what do you think are the consequences when Christians...
Let me bump up the speed a little bit here. This section is internet etiquette for Christians. So we're going to etiquette class now, boys and girls. Etiquette class. We're going to learn how to hold ourselves out on the interwebs, right?
So we're all struggling with that. Let's say, what do you think are the consequences when Christians sort of give in? You know, someone 4 years into their time functioning on the internet, they've kind of bought in to the dunking on, the outrage, the snarkiness. What is lost? How is the kingdom of God affected by that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so easy to be shaped by your environment. And when you're in an environment where that not only is so prevalent, but like you said, it's rewarded, how much are you shaping the context you're in versus the context you're in shaping you?
Rhetoric and one-liners have always been a thing. You guys remember 10 years ago, maybe longer than that, like 20 years ago, when Christopher Hitchens was gallivanting around, quote unquote, hitch slapping people with his one-liners? This has always been a thing. I don't know what they're complaining about, saying that this is a new problem now. That's ridiculous.
And I've really struggled with, like, okay, how can I put safeguards in place to not allow that? Because I think it's the like incremental phase.
Yeah, okay, before they catch me, I'm like quoting an atheist debater on this. John Lennox, a sweet old man, John Lennox, has some wonderful one-liners. I think he is very, very good at one-liners, and he's a Christian apologist. Hey, Father Ron, what's up? Father Ron and I have been talking a little bit on X. We've missed each other a little bit, but I see he's been getting involved also in the apologetics realm, which is cool with seeing more clergy doing that. Hitchens was entirely just witty one-liners, no actual arguments. I think that's what made him kind of appealing to rhetoricians. Father Stephen could have beat Gavin in a debate while competing in ranked Marvel Rivals matches. Well, Father Stephen went to Calvinist seminary, among others, like the top Calvinist seminary. Like, I don't think you can heap enough, clout on his credentials if you tried. Honestly, he had one-liners with a beautiful accent. Hitchens fooled everyone just because he was decently eloquent and had a British accent. Yeah, he was a good rhetorician. $2 from Speaker of the House. And for all the past super chats, I think I owe you guys a bit of a few eagle cries. Thank you very much, guys, for the super chats. I appreciate that. Speaker of the House for $2. Thank you. Internet Protestantism, those proto bros. So toxic. Yeah. What gives? Conservative Presbyterianism is basically a debate club. Thank you. I thought I was going crazy over here. I thought I was the only person that was noticing this. It's like a racket. They operate like a racket. Like they don't let anybody into the club. I love the scream sound Cleve has. That's on the. I think I may have that too. It's like one of the. It's on the generic thing. Did you guys hear that? Dude, that's so funny. Okay, let's get back to this video. I'm getting distracted. You guys are too funny.
Where you just incorporate a couple comments, and it's so easy maybe to justify it because you see, I've talked to people where they said something like Elijah the prophets of Baal, and they're like, well, he's mocking them, right? And actually, I'm not against there being opportunities where we do need to be pretty hard and like straightforward with what we're saying. Jesus is pretty critical with particular individuals, and the wisdom in knowing, okay, how do we differentiate from that? I mean, my response often is, if Elijah and the prophets of Baal are our standard, then we better kill our opponents after we mock them, because that's what we do. That's what he does, right? And obviously that kind of shows the absurdity of it, but that's a descriptive, not a prescriptive kind of laying out. But I think in terms of your question, like, I think we do need to be careful, and it's I think letting the word of God shape our hearts in understanding that most people are not wolves in sheep's clothing. Most people are sheep who themselves are misguided, who are also trying to figure things out. I think of so many people in my life who they're very hard-lined, and they're very maybe even embittered, but
they always take this angle, and this is very, very annoying to me, because I feel like a lot of young guys will come into their like non-denom independent Bible church, or their evangelical church, or their charismatic church, or whatever, their Presbyterian church, and they'll go to like their youth leaders or their pastors with some questions about a theological system, right? On what basis do we know what books go into the canons? Because I looked at the Westminster Confession and the Baptist Confession of Faith, the London Baptist Confession of Faith. And it says that we know this is the right list of books because the Holy Spirit tells us in our hearts. Well, let's say I'm a young guy inquiring into orthodoxy. I go to the Mr. Pastor Bob at my independent Bible church. Hey, this isn't good enough. This is a big problem in our theological system. And you know what their approach is? It's this approach that Wes and Gavin are talking about right here, which is there something going on in your life? Why are you questioning these things? Is there like some personal struggle that you're going through right now? It's like, dude, all I want is a coherent theological system. This is exactly what happened to me as a practicing attorney at this independent Bible church that I was attending with my wife before I joined the Holy Orthodox Church. And the lead pastor over there, I came to him with these questions. I was like, if this is true, these are very large holes in our theological system, and they need to be reconciled. If not, I cannot live with this sort of cognitive dissonance in my head. I have to go over there. And his approach was not to answer the critique to the theological system. It was this nonsense to be like, what are you going through right now that you are asking these questions? Are you going through a hard time? Are you arguing with your parents or with your wife? This COVID, did it take a toll on you? Like all the lockdowns? It's like, dude, all I want to know is whether I can reconcile this theological system. That's it. Please, Alex, Mr. Pastor Bob is my father. Just call me Pastor Bob. Fair enough.
No, it's because of other things. I was speaking of it at a university in Canada, and I did a talk on the problem of evil. And then there was this one guy who like beelined it for me afterwards. And I knew it was going to be like he wanted to fight a little bit. And he started just throwing these things at me. What about this? What about this? What about this? And part of me was thinking, I just talked for 45 minutes on that. Like, you should have been listening. But it was just so like I could sense the hostility. And at one point I just said, those are great questions. Why are you asking those questions? And it turned out he had a close family member who was diagnosed with cancer and was most likely terminal. And I was like, right.
Yeah, so that's tragic. That's like very, very bad. I'm sorry for this person, but like, this is not the approach that, 90% of the young men that are inquiring into orthodoxy, when they go to their Protestant pastors and have questions, it's not going to be a close family member had cancer. 99% of the time, I'm trying to make sense of this theological system. You are the shepherd of this flock. Please help me. If not, I have to go because I have to be consistent with my beliefs. Fifi fallacy. Yeah. That's basically what it is. It's just the Fifi fallacy. That's right. Got another super chat from Hick at Heart. Thank you very much, Hick at heart. Wes uniting with Ortlund is a hilarious testimony to how Prots will set aside their so-called foundational beliefs to save face against orthodoxy. Well, I think Wes and Gavin actually have a lot in common because they're both Calvingelicals, as if we can call them that, like Calvingelicals, because they're not like historical Calvinists. I know Ortlund serves at an independent like church collective. Hold on. Let me do a tribute to Cleve for that last super chat. So funny. Yeah. Yeah, Westminster Confession of Faith. Our full persuasion and assurance of the infallible truth and divine authority thereof is from the inward work of the Holy Spirit bearing witness by and with the word in our hearts. It's the same thing in the London Baptist Confession as well. Our full persuasion and assurance is by the Holy Spirit bearing witness in our hearts. That's it. It's Gnostic at its core.
You know, what I could have, gone in for the kill, the dunk, here's all the ways why your objections are wrong. And that particular instance stands out to me when I think of, response videos, which I love to talk about because I think I'm still trying to wrap my head around the response video culture.
Right.
But this individual, he wasn't actually struggling with like the dichotomy of the law of non-contradiction and the problem of evil, why a good God could allow so much evil and suffering, which is what he was kind of articulating. He was personally hurting.
I mean, that's a problem for the for the Calvingelical view. That's not really a problem in the Orthodox view, because as St. Demetrius Staniloy explains in his 6-volume Dogmatic Theology, it's just a result of freedom. Evil is a result of freedom. It's not something that has a positive existence to it. I have a little speck on my screen. It's bugging me. Speaker of the House says independent church collective. It's got to be one of the most Skittles terms I've ever heard. I don't know if they use that language. It's something similar to that on the website of the church. Reformed Baptist is probably the absolute toughest position to defend. Yeah, I think so. Because they're trying to get a little bit of everything. And when you try to do that, you end up with nothing at all. When a friend started asking questions, his pastor told him to stop reading the Bible so much. That's a new one. I've heard people told them stop reading the church fathers so much. That's what the independent Bible pastor guy told me. That's why I talk a lot about my Pentecostal upbringing. I had a great time as a Pentecostal. They were very polite, very nice. When I decided to go to another church, they were like, wherever you feel God, man. That's just like, follow wherever you feel God. Yeah, it's like, all right. They were very nice. They loved the Bible. They had no continuity with history whatsoever, but they love the Bible. That's fine. But dude, that independent Calvingelical independent church was like, they were crazy. They were crazy. So collective evangelical church. Yeah.
Had an ache. And that was kind of, all of these things were a bit of a styrofoam facade that looked imposing. But once we started to break that down, and I didn't really answer his questions. Right. I just said, I'm so sorry to hear that. Can I pray for you? And you could see just kind of the tension evaporate. Yeah. And I try to think of that with the online world, that you encounter so much hostility. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but you encounter so much hostility and trying to give the benefit of the doubt to people. And I need to remind myself of that, even just on a regular basis. That I don't know what's going on behind the scenes and what they're wrestling through and what their heart posture is right now, how they're struggling with God, and that this could legitimately be a wolf. Right. But I think my experience is that most of the time it's a misguided sheep.
Right. And if you treat the misguided sheep as if they were a wolf, real collateral damage can happen.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about like rebuttal videos. I mean, this is something I actively think through, and I don't really have the answer yet. I think I've often had this experience where I'll be watching a different perspective. And for me, the genesis of it in my heart is I'm just curious. I just want to interact. I was watching Rhett McLaughlin and Alex O'Connor last night put out a new video. I just enjoy watching it. I'm just intellectually curious. I just think, how would I respond to that? So in my naivety, sometimes I'll, you're not planning on, I'm going to do a rebuttal video today, but from watching the video, you just start thinking. And
I mean, yeah, but he kind of picks and chooses. He doesn't respond to any of the critiques of Calvinism, right? Father Stephen DeYoung says, the only person I can see Huff dunking on is a 4-year-old girl. These are 2 adult men who look like their most grievous sin is gossiping. I distrust pastors who don't look like they're reformed sinners. That's quite deep. Actually, that's very deep. I like that. Yeah. They do have that like Boy Scout kind of appearance. I always give people the benefit of the doubt. I assume they're stupid, not evil. And yeah, that like they miss something or they have some pre-commitment that they can't shake. I think that's probably the best approach. But like, once you see that, I'm so hyped for your Calvinist vids. Well, good. A lot of people have been talking about it. It's kind of going back and forth between like, do I want to go stir up some trouble with the atheist crowd, or do I want to stir up some trouble with the Calvinist crowd? And I feel like the Calvinists are a little bit more like debate bros. I'm lost. What did I miss? Start at like 6 minutes into the stream. So, okay. Let's get back to the video here. So maybe we can skip ahead a bit. This is a little boring. It's just like tone policing, right? Internet etiquette for Christians. Look, there's a time for niceties and there's a time to fight. When you have a debate, that's time to fight because people's souls are on the line here. So you have to fight, right? When you're having a dialogue, like I thought I was very polite with Sans, perhaps even too polite. A few other folks that I talked to, I think I was probably a little too polite. But Alex, are you going to open up the StreamYard so we can come in and talk, or just reaction today? I'm going to open up X Spaces at like 10:30 or so. I was just going to do the reactions first, so that way I don't have to go back and forth too much. But I'm already going back and forth, so yeah, around 10:30 I'll open up the X Spaces. And Val brought up a good point last time that like I can't control what people kind of post on stream when I put them on stream. Like they could open their webcam and play some like really bad video. So I kind of want to mitigate against that possibility a little bit, because I put a lot of work into this channel and I don't want some moron coming in and messing it up. So react to the historical Christianity part, but internet etiquette, rising interest in tradition. Let's skip over here.
Things that I put out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me ask you a little bit about Protestantism, and we'll kind of transition into this whole second area.
Yeah.
And even talking about that is an interesting thing, because in a second I'll ask you, why is there a little more focus on this conversation maybe today, or at least it can seem like that, whereas 5 or 10 years ago, it doesn't seem like there was a lot of Protestant apologetics or people really focusing on feeling a need to sort of explain and defend Protestant convictions. And for me, I never set out, maybe this is partly why the Lord led me in this direction, is I really, in my heart, don't have any sort of reaction against anything that's outside of Protestantism from a personal angle. I think I just sort of got, to my own surprise, kind of pulled into conversations as a way to try to serve people, because I was seeing people having anxiety and uncertainty and basically just not really hearing good historic Protestant arguments.
Right.
And so out of my own academic background, I just thought, this is an opportunity to try to meet some needs here. Do you see more interest in these conversations between Protestant Christians and the other Christian traditions today? Or do you just think there's more of an appearance of that now versus 10 years?
What history, dude? They don't have any history. Like, don't blame God for your channel, Ortlund. Like, what history? They have independent Bible church. They all started their own church, and they're in formal communion with like no other denominations. There are a bunch of, not the majority, but there are many Protestant denominations that have close communion. Why aren't you in communion with those people? Good historic Protestant arguments is hilarious. Yeah, it's just it's the type of slop that you see that like, yeah, Saint Athanasius was sola scriptura. Like, absolutely not. I am so sick and tired of people trying to tell me that. Or like, Saint Irenaeus taught sola fide. Like, absolutely not. Have you read his On the Apostolic Teaching? Saint Irenaeus quoted the Shepherd of Hermas as if it were scripture. Pretty sure God didn't lead him to become an enemy of his church. Yeah, that's a good point, because Gavin Ortlund went on a video and he said that the Orthodox Christians are browbeating people into conversion and intimidating people into conversion. It's not nice. It's not nice what Gavin said about us. And then when we ask him to engage with like the better arguments that we have, he just straight up refuses. And he pulled a credentialism card on me. Father Stephen being spicy in the chat. Father Stephen is a very smart man. So
Years ago.
I think it's a little bit of a both and situation. I think people we're in a unique kind of snapshot in the life of the evangelical church, where I think people are genuinely looking for more. It's part and parcel to a number of things. I think it's coming out of, you know, the early 2000s church environment in evangelical North American Christianity that I grew up in, where it was a lot of like seeker sensitivity and, you know, youth pizza nights and lock-ins, and the depth was not really there, but there was a lot of incentive to get people in, and that worked. But you know, the whole what you win them with is what you win them to. You reminded me last night, and that's like part and parcel to that.
You know, I think what Wes just said was actually very good. He said, "What you win them with is what you win them to," referring to converts. So, like, if you're going to win them over with pizza parties and youth nights, then that's what you're winning them to. They're looking for pizza parties and youth nights, right? In Holy Orthodoxy and the work that we're doing now in the online apologetic space, we are winning them over with doctrine, with theosis, with history, with theological objective truths, like fighting against theological relativism and these legal imputation doctrines that would just be totally foreign to the writers of the New Testament, like absolutely foreign, as proven by, you know, Father Stephen DeYoung in his book coming in Religion of the Apostles, and in his book coming up on the Atonement, but also books like Justitia Dei. This is a little bit more of like an academic read, but nobody thought about it that way in the early church. Super chat, $10. Thank you. From Chosen V3, $9.99. Thank you very much. Can you make videos on church history, how the canon was created, and other EO doctrines? It would be great to have content like that on your channel to help people interested in the faith. And there's like a million things that I could do. You mean like a little catechism? You know, my spiritual father, actually, he asked me whether I'd be interested in writing a small catechism with him this year for 2026. And it would just be like a basics guide with like a lot of pictures. And like, if you're just joining the church, like how to behave, what to do, like how to venerate an icon. But it would start off with some like dogmatic, like very basic dogmatic foundations. And he was like, let's start off. First chapter will be the Trinity. Alex, you write that one. Write it as if you were explaining it to a 13 or 14-year-old. And I was like, you said that as if that would be a very simple task. And it's not a very simple task. Pizza parties versus a call to fast over 100 days a year. Yeah, exactly. What you win them with is what you win them to. I think Wes is correct in that assessment. And that's why Holy Orthodoxy is being so successful online. I'll get it if it's a pop-up book. Could you imagine a small catechism approved by the Romanian Diocese of Canada, Father Corneliu Androsco and Alex Sorin Esquire? You open it up, you get a little pop-up in the first page. Dude, that would be hilarious. Now write it as a lawyer. Oh, geez, Louise. A good lawyer or a bad lawyer, right? It's like when St. Paul confronted St. Peter in Antioch and said, we can't just be having pizza parties all the time. We need prayer time and a Bible study where everyone can share. Yes. What did you personally receive from the scriptures this week? That's the thing, is that people don't want the subjectivism. There is an objective way to interpret the Bible. There are objective truths within the Bible. You can't just read it and take whatever you want out of it. It has an objective meaning. Right. And like, I'm not discounting that, like, God can speak to you in special ways through scripture. However, we have guardrails in the Orthodox Church to make sure that it's actually a legitimate spiritual experience that you're having. You go to your spiritual father, you go to your parish priest, they keep the guardrails on for you so you don't go too far to the right or to the left. So, okay. Go back to these gentlemen.
We did get a lot of people through the door, but then what we won them to was kind of a yay deep, shallow end Christianity. And then you do have the new atheism collapse, in that I think people saw that if you tell individuals that they're a product of time plus matter plus chance, and then you try to live your life that way, it really doesn't give you a whole lot to develop meaning and purpose and intention. And so we're finding ourselves in this time where people are looking for substance, which is why I think we're seeing a rise of not atheism, but spiritual, but not religious, because it's kind of emblematic of that. They're looking, they realize that, okay, there's more to this life. There's a lot of weirdness to the world we live in. I'm not just matter and motion. So what do I do with that? And in that, where people are looking for something that feels solid and maybe even ancient, there's a looking to traditions that really put that on display. And I grant that there's
We don't put it on display. It is an old tradition. It's Alex, we always need more material from your spiritual father. He's great. Maybe I'll have him on for a live or something. He's really cool. He's a little insecure about his English, but I think he did like absolutely just fine in that interview. So yeah, it's not the appearance of an ancient faith. It is the ancient faith. We have Father Dr. Stephen DeYoung wrote a whole book on how it is the ancient faith.
There's an attraction to the smells and bells and the aura of something that looks like it has an antiquity to it. And I wonder,
he's going so far out of his way to not say that it is old and that it is the ancient faith. He's like trying so hard to not say it. He keeps on qualifying it. It's very, very funny. Like he is very aware of the zone that he is treading here.
I think it's a both and situation where I think we're able to see a lot more publicly the amount of people who are verbalizing that they're going from one tradition to another. Because when I was growing up, I knew a lot of people who left Catholicism for Protestant evangelicalism. But that was largely like credo Catholics, a nominal Catholicism. And I think online you see on places like X, a lot of verbal people who are going to Eastern Orthodoxy or Roman Catholicism, who are now almost becoming apologists for that. And I don't know if there's the same fervor for people who might actually, in the numbers, be going the opposite direction, right? Because there's just a lack of a desire for one reason or another. I don't know whether that's good or bad, or but you see the people who on those sorts of the Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholic side, they do tend to be more verbal initially. So I think we are seeing a movement.
It's cage stage no matter what, dude. It's cage stage for the Calvinists, for Orthodox, for Roman Catholics. The things the Roman Catholics say on X are just like, I don't even know what to think anymore, man. I think they're just in straight up denial. They will just straight up lie. Hey, $5 from Newman0100. Thank you, Newman. Thank you very much. So Gavin and Wes have the right reason to ask these questions, but everyone else is hurt or frustrated. Yeah, that's a good point. Everyone else is hurt or frustrated, but because they have the credentials, they have the PhDs, they have the doctoral level degrees, they are permitted to ask these questions, right? How is that not arrogant? Prod tradition is right. I mean, you have a point, my friend. You have a point. Certainly. So, is Wes Huff Presbyterian also? Later in this interview, he says he's a Baptist. I think maybe he's like a confessional Baptist. I don't know. He says he's a Baptist. Let's skip ahead to what does Gavin have to say about the richness of Protestant tradition?
Back, we're swimming the Tiber and going back.
I do too. And the more I've studied these issues and worked through them, I feel more confident. I feel more freedom. I feel more respect and understanding for other people and where they have fought, where their convictions lie. But I feel more confident in these basic convictions like sola scriptura. I think that one is just so true and so life-giving to measure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he does think that doctrine is so true when he refuses to engage with our critiques of it on an epistemic level.
Ourselves by what God has said. What God says is of the chief authority for the rule of the church. We'll talk about sola fide, justification by faith alone, in a second. And I think, the realistic look at church history. I think there is so much naivety, as though all the early, I get these comments so much from people.
What is the best argument against Calvinist soteriology? There's a few. I think a Christological argument is strong in that total depravity section. So like if Christ took on human nature and human nature is unable to do any spiritual good, right? Well, then how did Christ take on our nature? Well, usually they will say that Christ took on a prelapsarian nature. You even see hints of this in the Westminster and Baptist confessions, but that's an enormous problem for them, because if Christ took on a prelapsarian human nature, that means before the fall. What is he redeeming if he took on a human nature before the fall? Human nature before the fall didn't have to be redeemed. It's an enormous problem. Christology is soteriology. It can't be abstracted from it on its own. Yeah, it's exactly right. The system works together as a whole. You can't separate these things from one another. That's exactly right, Donkey Kong. By the way, great post today on Canon and Creed's post on Twitter. I thought that was very astute of you, Donkey Kong.
And they're assuming that I'm in bad faith because I'm resisting the one true church. But what's interesting is it comes from multiple claimants. It comes from the Roman Catholics as well as the Eastern Orthodox. And it's like,
dude, I don't know how we can get over this dumb fallacy that everybody keeps on using. Everybody's claiming to be the one true church. I guess there's no way you could ever know. Just go through the history, man. Just put in the work. And if not, then go do the best you can. Listen to these debates. Like, information has never been more accessible than today. This should be the time in history you should least be complaining about. All these claimants of the one true church. That makes absolutely no sense.
it's like you both can't be exactly right in what you are saying. And one of the reasons I value being a Protestant is I think you can be honest with the messiness of church history. God has been at work. The church has never died, but it is.
Yeah, because they gave up on church history. It's very messy, so we just kind of went and we started our own church. Okay. Like, you can't look it up. Gavin is so dishonest. Again, I try to stay away from judging his heart, whether he's honest or dishonest. But I think he's like so far, like he has so many chips in this Protestant thing that he wouldn't be able to change his mind, even if he didn't. Like, I have a profession. I have a day job. If I'm wrong, I'll correct myself, whatever. But like, I'm staking a lot of reputation on the fact that I analyzed this correctly and that the Holy Orthodox Church is the one with continuity. Protestant institutions teach Protestantism as the default. It's just what the Bible says, supposedly. They can't defend it. They just try to attack things about Roman Catholicism or Holy Orthodoxy, as Father Stephen DeYoung says. Yes. Yeah, they can't defend their own. It's indefensible. It's utterly indefensible. Danny Town with the super chat. Thank you very much, Danny Town. I appreciate that. Protestants are atheists in their heart. Every religion claims they're the true one. Therefore, there is no truth. That's the same. Yeah, that's the exact same logic that atheists use, right? Well, you don't believe in a billion other religions. I just disbelieve in one more religion than you. You believe in one. I believe in zero. Right? How can you know which one is the true one? There are so many. Right? Why would God make it incumbent upon you to go through and do all the work, right? It's ridiculous. Plain reading of the text. Hello. Yeah, there is no plain reading of the text. Everybody brings to the text their pre-existing web of beliefs. Everybody does.
It's also messy, just as it is today. And you can sort of just be honest and acknowledge that. But one of the values for Protestantism, you do a lot of work in the study of texts.
Bingo.
And if we're trying to get at here, values of Protestantism, why we care about this tradition, why we think it's worth talking about and having this conversation and even using that label, I would put onto the table the Protestant emphasis upon Scripture, not just as a big framework, though that's there as well, but also in the daily experience of lay Christians. And I think it's totally true to history to say the Protestant Reformation massively disseminated the knowledge of the Scriptures in the vernacular language throughout the laity. And
I mean, Saint Photius or Saint Methodius. I think I was reading about Saint Photius the Great, and he was like the precursor to the Cyrillic script, and then it was like Saint Methodius and Saint Cyril that fully fleshed out the Cyrillic script, and they went and they distributed Christianity in the vernacular in like Bulgaria, and they went to the Kievan Rus and into. This is an excellent point. It disseminated the text of the scriptures, not knowledge. And this is what I was trying to get to right now while I was bumbling about before Father Stephen DeYoung left this comment, is that just because you have the text of the scriptures, that doesn't equip you to learn about Christianity. It doesn't. How do we even know what the scriptures are? Well, they looked into the lectionaries, into the liturgies. Lee McDonald talks a lot about this in a very important book. Before There Was a Bible, Authorities in Early Christianity by Lee Martin McDonald. You know what he talks about? Lectionaries. This is page 122 in the book. He says, Reading scriptures in the synagogues in the 1st century CE was common. See, for example, Luke 4:16, Acts 3:15, 2 Corinthians 3, and the common practice of reading Christian texts in churches is everywhere assumed in the letters addressed to the churches from Paul, James, Peter, and John. Evidence of reading New Testament texts in Christian gatherings can be seen in the New Testament letters that were addressed to the churches, as we see in Colossians 4. Those letters regularly cite multiple Hebrew scriptures, mostly from the Septuagint, the LXX, which, Father Stephen, I'm not saying the LXX. This is Lee McDonald saying the LXX. So I'm just reading what he wrote. Those letters regularly cite multiple Hebrew scriptures, mostly from the LXX, and there is no defense presented for citing those sacred texts, but rather they are read as justification for what the authors were saying. The authors assume their readers will also recognize the scripture text introduced with the usual scriptural designations as it is written or as the scripture says, or even without those designations when the authors are writing with scripture, as noted earlier. Readings from the Gospels are quite early in Christian worship, as we saw earlier in Justin Martyr mentioning the Gospels. So, how do they find out what the scriptures are? They had lectionaries, the liturgy. And they just want to divorce themselves from that entire history, dude. They have no liturgy. I'm pretty much done engaging with Catholics at this point, but dude, they will dogpile you. I see Nikolai going through the same thing that I went through after my debate with Yassi. It was just a mess, dude.
And I just love to hear you talk about that a little bit. Do you see that? Do you think that's a fair reason for us to appreciate what?
I'm going to skip ahead here. Let's go. This is a short section. We can go through what is the gospel.
You need to approach with fear and trepidation.
Yeah. Okay. So in one sentence, before I ask you a big, more complicated question, in one sentence, what is the gospel?
In one sentence. Why does it have to be in one sentence? I don't understand why they have these like very arbitrary rules. If you can't say it in one sentence, then you're overcomplicating and adding to it. Look, I can say it in one sentence, but it's going to be a very long compound sentence with some semicolons, right? First of all, obviously, believe in Jesus Christ, become united to his body, the church, live a Christian life, bear fruits of the Spirit, participate in the sacraments wherein you are divinized through the energies of God. Father Stephen says that within Protestantism, the only way to discern between competing interpretations of Scripture is persuasion. See Hodge. This is why these guys are all about presentation. That makes a lot of sense. Guys, we have to make sure we have the proper etiquette when we're engaging in online apologetics. Don't you know, guys, that we need to have the proper etiquette? It's tight black shirt fallacy. I mean, Wes Huff is in good shape. I'll give him that for sure. He'll beat me on that for sure.
The gospel is the saving news of Jesus Christ, that he has saved you apart from anything you can contribute to that. That you are dead in your sins and trespasses, that you don't need an example, you need a savior. And in believing and committing your life to that, he will rescue you. That you're saved.
Yeah, that entails a lot of things. Right? Father Stephen DeYoung is cooking. I don't know when he's not cooking. He's like literally one of the smartest people in this field.
Saved by works, it's just not yours. It's Jesus's.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one who can accomplish that perfectly. You can't. And so you're saved for works, but you're not saved by works. And in putting your whole trust and faith in the saving work of the second person of the Trinity, who steps out of eternity and into humanity and takes on your depravity, you will be rescued.
Okay, so he just snuck in a bunch of Calvinist nonsense in there, but I'll just focus on like the works thing. I think James is very clear that there's a synergy between faith and works. I don't think this. He is clear that there's a synergy between faith and works. He literally uses in the Greek the term synergeia or something. Let me look. I think it's James 2:22, if I am correct. Yeah, James 2:22. Here, I'll share this with you guys. Because this is kind of important, I think. Yeah, so you see that, this is James 2:22. You see that his faith was working with, what is the Greek term there? Synerge. Was working with his actions. And his faith was perfected by what he did. Does your faith synergized with your actions? Like, it cannot get much more clear than that. So, Wes Huff did not adequately share the gospel. And we should probably move on to the section on whether Protestantism is feminized. Because that's what I baited everybody with in the thumbnail. Is Protestantism feminine? Okay, so everybody's saying that I clickbaited you in the thumbnail. No, they actually talked about this. This wasn't just me throwing shade. This is their topic of choice. These are their words.
Topic. That's right. We can do these real briefly. So one of the things that comes up in these conversations is people are looking for a masculine expression of worship and faith. And they feel, especially young men, and they feel that that is sometimes offered in context outside of Protestantism in a more obvious way. What does Protestantism say to that desire?
Interesting question.
Do you know what I mean by masculine? They want something rigorous.
Yeah.
They want something demanding.
Yeah. I think we've seen a real movement in that.
They're like struggling to answer how Protestantism is masculine, right? It's ridiculous. Ortlund, what must I do to be saved? No apostle ever. Nothing. Jesus already did it. That's yeah, I don't think any apostle said. I think it's always repent and be baptized for the forgiveness of sins. And confess your sins to one another, partake in the Eucharist, receive the Eucharist, partake in the divine energies. This topic is a massive cope for Protestants. Oh, it's just because the beards and the incense are more masculine. That's why men are converting. Yeah, if it was beards and incense, like Wes said, Wes was right about this principle that what you attract them with is what they stay for, right? And if it was beards and incense, they could go to any number of places, but it's not. It's the theology. We anathematize you. Dude, I'm still waiting for the Dr. Evo remix. We anathematize you. We go to Hades and laugh in your face. I forgot the lyrics that Jay came up with on the spot, but that was like a banger. Dude. Repent and be baptized metaphorically. Oh, duh. Be baptized metaphorically. I had no idea. Thank you. I finally understand now.
That, what the Jordan Peterson asks, which is funny because he's not a stereotypical masculine individual, but I think it's like that stoic value of virtue and hard work, and you make your bed and you set your goals, and optimization is like a buzzword right now. I think I totally understand.
And Wes got a little lost in his point there. He went down a little bunny trail because that doesn't really have to do with like masculinity.
Kind of the rigorous contribution that some of those traditions can feel like that imparts for a more standard stereotypical masculinity. Sometimes I wonder if that's a desire, like the our hearts wanting to feel like we can contribute because we want, there's something satisfying about being Sisyphus and pushing the rock up the mountain because I might get there, and that feels like I can do something, right? I often talk to my Muslim friends and I hear their devotion, especially during times like Ramadan, where they're praying 5 times a day and they're reading through the entire Quran during that 30 days. And I get it. And I get the desire to want to work. The flip side of that is that, if you're doing everything right, you often become a little bit arrogant and you look down on people who aren't doing it perfectly. And then the other side is that if you're not doing it right,
his insecurity is showing. It's like we're doing things over here in Holy Orthodoxy. We are fasting. We are confessing. We're doing things. And his insecurity is showing for sure. Jordan Peterson isn't even a Christian most of the time. Last I checked, he was like some Gnostic heretic. We was relativists. Yeah, it's theological relativism. They pick and choose. It's like the perfect term. Sproul was so disgusting when you actually listen to what he said. Yeah, I get the heebie-jeebies sometimes with from some things that Sproul said in his later life, for sure. Their example of ruggedly masculine dude is JBP. Yes, the dude with the fancy suits, with the super finicky diet. Ruggedly masculine. Yeah. This very slender Canadian. He's crying all the time. That's not to poo on his like business accomplishments, I'm sure. Let me sit here with my calculator watch and tell you how to be manly. I think St. Paul would be the best measure for that. The guy that can't do an interview without crying. I'm supposed to move on to I'm behind schedule here.
That can be very disheartening.
Yeah.
But I think we're living in a society where masculinity in the broader culture is often labeled as something like toxic, or it's downplayed, or and then you see these traditional red pill like values and mindsets, and it's tied to something that looks ancient, and that can, I guess I'm not really answering your question. In terms of like Protestantism, I think it has more to offer than big beards and cigars. I think it goes beyond that.
I think that's about it, dude. Like, no offense, but like, what are you guys offering people? A legal imputation, a divine decree, salvation by divine decree. You can't do anything anyway. I think that's it, dude. I don't think they have anything. They accuse us of like the smells and bells. Like, they are coming to us for the doctrines. I don't know how much more clear I can be to get this across. They're not coming to Holy Orthodoxy for beards, bells, and incense, and icons, and art. Although that helps. I'm sure it's not a downside at all. Nonetheless, not every single parish is the nicest parish in the world. Not every single one has, the finances to get these like marble pillars and to be decked out in iconography, painted on the wall from top to bottom, like these like beautiful Serbian monasteries that we have over here in Ontario. The Serbians and the Greeks, they have really, really beautiful monasteries and parishes. But a lot of people go to parishes that are not decked out with a lot of those things. Why? Because of the doctrines, because of the liturgy, because of the history, because it's true, because it's the theological system that makes the most coherent sense. That's why. Hello. Wait, what happened? Is Father Stephen Young talking about when Jordan B. Peterson kicked him off the stage? Oh, he told him something to his face. Okay, I'm behind. Hold on. There's a story going on here. Well, I gotta. Oh, what is funny about the whole Jay song about laughing in your face is R.C. Sproul literally said, "We will rejoice in our grandma suffering in hell when we are in heaven." Yes. Yeah, I missed something. Nikolai, I told him that to his face. Okay, let's finish up here, and then we'll move on to what Trent Horn had to say.
That's your shtick. That's fine. Nothing against big beers and cigars. I have neither in my life. But I think there is like the hope of the gospel is something that can give value to the desire of masculinity that I think a lot of young men are feeling like a yearning for. And that it doesn't have to be the exhausting pursuit of the Stoics. Right. Because the Stoics all converted to Christianity. Why was that? Well, it was because the freedom of being released from that endless work. And now you can work, right? You have the freedom to work, but it's not on your shoulders. It's on Jesus's.
Yeah. Right. And I think
the whole Council of God podcast, I'm going to plug Father Stephen DeYoung's podcast here. His episode on Ephesians 2 is like perfect on this, because he talks about how like walking in the way of the world, like let's reset. Chapter 2, it begins with you were once dead in your trespasses and sins. You were sons of your father, the devil, the prince of the air, right? The prince of the powers of the air, who now works in the sons of perdition. And they walk in those ways. And this pagan idea of deification, right? How did the pagans, the Romans, see deification? Well, you had to do something. You had to be emperor and win a war or do something crazy, and then you become a god after you die. You become deified. That was the Roman pagan culture. You have to do something. And what Paul is saying in Ephesians 2 is that you don't have to do things, right? To receive grace from God. You don't have to overcome some big hurdle. You just have to get baptized. You have to believe, and then you have to walk, right? That's important. The walking part, right? You are a son of the prince of the air. You walked in the ways of the prince of the air. Now God had grace on you. And that language in Ephesians 2 is like exactly the same as the language that Paul uses for baptism, that it's of grace. It's not something you earned. Like Christ deified baptism. You don't deify baptism. You partake in Christ elevating baptism to the sacrament. And now you walk in the works that God prepared for you beforehand, right? You were a son of the prince of the air. You walked in those ways. God had grace on you. Now you walk in the ways of God, right? You walk. So notice how he didn't actually say what Protestantism offers in masculinity. It's a dilemma.
You know, you mentioned this some people want to work, and there could be, and you're rightly saying, you know, you got to examine that desire. What about that is good? What about that maybe I should interrogate and think about? But if people want to work, I want to say, read the Puritans.
Yeah.
You know, if you're wanting a bracing calling, like a summons to come and die, which I think in some respects is a wonderful desire in our hearts, read John Owen's The Mortification of Sin.
Yeah.
So again, my answer here is let's go back to Protestant roots.
Totally.
Okay, but how does that work with their system, though? I don't think it works with their system. And like I have read some Puritan stuff, like I get it. You know, some of the Puritans, what is this? Jeremiah Burroughs. Some of the Puritans, I gather, did not accept the filioque, which is like, there's your fun fact of the day. Or they like very seriously questioned the filioque. So this Chase Haggard music, you can see why he doesn't debate. He does academic dialogues with only those who have the proper credentials, Chase Haggard. My Juris Doctor degree is not enough credentials to get through the ivory tower, to get myself into the racket, which I discussed earlier, that like apologetics at that level just seems to be a bit of a racket. So I guess those are my thoughts on and my reaction to this interview with Gavin and Wes. It was like, I think it's getting a lot of attention, and they are like the two faces, I guess, of Protestant apologetics these days. Excuse me. The two faces of Protestant apologetics. And they were talking about like that etiquette topic, right? And what got my attention, I also wanted to talk about Trent Horn on this. He posted a video as well. Hey, Father Stephen DeYoung, by the way, since you are here, can I discuss with you about getting your books translated into Korean? Dude, that would be tight. That would be tight. I just want to wave my hands and vibe, bro. Filioque. There is no system. You just find passages in different authors that you find inspiring. Yeah. So Father Stephen is referencing how I said, well, how does the rigorism of the Puritans fit into their theological system as independent Bible church folks? Well, there is no system. It's true. You just find passages in different authors that you find inspiring. And it's just, oh, I'm going through a hard time in my life right now. Well, look at this very nice thing that John Owens or Jeremiah Burroughs or like what the Puritans had to say. Yeah, the Puritans. Yeah. The radical reformers. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about what Trent in this video had to say. He had a pretty cheeky opening here. I thought that was actually pretty clever of him. So I'll give him credit for the opening. That was pretty engaging. But here are his complaints about modern day debate.
Sharing the truth, and how we can restore debates to their former glory. Public disputations, aka debates, were a big part of medieval Christian culture, which carried into the Reformation, as can be seen in the Leipzig disputation between Martin Luther and Johann Eck. Then with the rise of democratic republics centuries later, debates became a way to persuade voters. In 1858, people would gather to listen to Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas debate for 3 hours, where each speaker had long, uninterrupted periods to lay out his case for how America should be governed. But now we live in a very different time, as can be seen in the mockery of what we now call presidential debates.
Donald, I understand rules are very hard for you. They're very confusing. I have his book. Okay,
Thank you for the book.
Donald, thank you for the book. Go ahead.
Donald, you can get back to
a lot of fun up here tonight.
There's no central point that is discussed at length. These are just opportunities for someone to get the soundbite of the night that will be played ad nauseum on cable news networks and social media posts the next day. What we have today comes from the advent of television debates that elevated style over substance. In 1960,
yeah, rhetoric is elevated now because of optics. You know what side is losing when they say debate is bad? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Undoubtedly. Yes. I missed a super chat from AI World Champion. Thank you for the super chat. Can get an eagle. They are reformed and always reforming. Well, why aren't they at least Romish again? That's where they started. Yeah. What are the Protestants still protesting? Nobody knows. They don't know. Nobody knows. It's just a big mystery. That's like when I was talking to Zons, I got him to admit that he's a papist, and that should end the discussion right there. But he was like, "Yeah. I'm on board with that." But let me ask you about this. Like, if you're on board with that, then you have the same problem, dude. Right? So.
The first televised presidential debate took place between John F. Kennedy and incumbent Vice President Richard Nixon. Nixon was tired recovering from knee surgery, and he had a suit that blended into the background. JFK, however, was tan, energetic, and had a skilled makeup team. It's a myth that radio listeners thought Nixon won on substance, whereas TV audiences thought JFK won because he looked better. But a televised format, at the very least, helped JFK and did not help Nixon. This is one reason no incumbent U.S. president took part in debates until Gerald Ford in 1976. And he probably should have skipped them because the following gaffe he made about the Soviet Union was widely seen as costing him the election.
There is no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe, and there never will be under a Ford administration.
This is all.
Oh, that's a blunder, dude. Let's get to this restoration of debates here.
Ask, how do we restore the dignity of debates? Well, first, we should treat debates like reading a textbook, not watching a wrestling match. Debates are an entertaining way to be
No, we don't have to debate in the way that he wants to debate. He's just saying, no, we have to debate in my very nice, like, academic way. There are different ways to debate. Dude, these people, like, they know nothing about advocacy and debate. Like, not a single thing. Read Cicero, dude. These people, they just say whatever they want to say without checking sources. This gets me really worked up because, dude, my mentors in litigation, they like traumatized me into this stuff, man. Like it's a law school itself is a 3-year hazing process. The bar exam is another hazing process. By the time you get your license, you're still not really ready to practice law. So you have to go find some mentors somewhere. Here I am, with my law license, learning from God's providence. Really, really good litigators that are in their 70s that have been doing it for a long time. Federal level litigation, very complex issues. And dude, they yelled at me a lot about that stuff. And I'm glad they did. Because now I see how like these apologists talk online and it's so fickle, man. Read what Cicero has to say. Often and much have I pondered the question of whether fluency of speech and a consuming devotion to eloquence have brought more good or evil to people in their communities. For when I consider the injuries done to our republic and review in my mind the ancient calamities of prominent communities, I see that no little part of their misfortunes was brought about through the agency of men who are highly skilled in speaking. Why should we accommodate ourselves to these like arbitrary rules? There are no rules, man. You can do whatever you want within the rules. You don't have to just do it their way. On the other hand, when I set out on a search in the annals of literature for any events that because of their antiquity are removed from our generation's memory, I find that many cities have been founded, the flames of very many wars have been extinguished, the firmest alliances and the most hallowed friendships have been formed, not only by the mind's power of reason, but also more easily by eloquence. This is like the top debater, most influential advocate, debater, litigator of all time, Cicero. He made our guild, our profession, quite proud, honestly. These people don't know anything about debating, dude. My debate technique is to become a saint and then debate. That is why I'm not allowed to debate. I mean, yeah. A law school bar exam and the first few years of practice creates so many abusers, alcoholics, and drug addicts. Yeah, it takes a really hard toll on you, man. It takes a big, big toll on you. So you're forgetting that it just is, bruh. Yeah. $4.99. Thank you, John Mondragon, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Great. $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much. So, yeah. Alex, I know 2 lawyers that became Orthodox priests. Are you going to be the third? I am not aspiring for the priesthood. That it's not as easy as people make it out to be. Maybe I'll go back for like some theology degree or something. But yeah, these people don't know anything about debating. Shouldn't you keep entertaining debates so that people actually get interested in it? Yeah. That's what Cicero is saying. It's exactly what Cicero was saying. By eloquence of speech, not just by reason.
Educated. And my conversion in high school was due in large part to the debates William Lane Craig had with atheists and Patrick Madrid had with Protestants. But a person could be good at winning debates and still hold a false worldview. That's why we should score debates not on who seemed more confident or left their opponent speechless, but by taking notes to see which arguments were used and how they were answered. This opens the door for us to learn more about all of the evidence and all the arguments involved, since a debater might forget to include them or just not have enough time to include all of them in his discussion. That's why it's silly when some atheists think they've refuted William Lane Craig by only responding to what he's presented in formal debates and not his much deeper material in his academic works. And that doesn't mean we shouldn't make powerful arguments in debates that lead to memorable moments. A lot of people remember the colorful questions I asked Destiny in our debate on abortion, but I wasn't trying to gotcha him. I sincerely wanted to analyze Destiny's worldview and show where it leads to absurd outcomes. In fact, when I recapped the debate with Ben Shapiro, I corrected Ben on a misunderstanding he had related to Destiny's argument. And to help create this kind of environment, debate participants should see themselves not as gladiator-like opponents, but as teaching partners who work together to help an audience understand what's being debated. When I debated Ben Watkins on God's existence, we exchanged our opening statements beforehand, and that allowed us to have a substantive debate where each of us could present the best case to the audience.
Yeah, William Lane Craig didn't really quite... I wasn't really a big follower of him, but John Lennox, I think in high school for me, was like a huge influence. Notice he doesn't even include worldview defeating arguments. Yeah. If someone exposes a worldview as contradictory or destroys the possibility of the claims they make, that does prove their position wrong. Yeah. Duh. So, hold on, let me see. Guys, I do have the X Spaces open now. I'm just waiting for some people to jump in. So the link to the X Spaces is going to be in the description of the video. Well, that'll be the link to my profile on X, and you can join from X. Jump in, and we can do some debates, open discussions, Q&A. It's just another layer of protection from like some degenerate hopping onto. Honestly, Val made me super anxious that somebody might do that when he mentioned that, because there's no way I can really protect against that. A lot of atheists think they've bested Christianity because they beat William Lane Craig. Little do they know, William Lane Craig isn't a Christian. Yeah, he's an Apollinarian, and like I think also a monothelatist, which would make him monoenergist then as well. So he's like every single heresy. Trent's wife is recovering from a brain tumor. It's been rough. I think that's why he looks so exhausted. Dude, I would have no idea how to deal with that. Lord have mercy on that. That would I would have a really hard time. Like I am very, very close to my wife, as I ought to be, and that would be very, very tough. So.
And let them decide. After the debate ended, Ben gave me a hug on stage and he said to me, we did it, because we saw ourselves as partners, not enemies, trying to present our best case. Now, that does not mean Christians shouldn't try to win these exchanges or go for an intellectual knockout. It just means you should fight fairly without fighting dirty. For example, one unfair tactic is to unload as many arguments as possible so that your opponent has no time to answer them all, and then claim victory over the arguments he did not have time to respond to.
Yeah, it's called a Gish Gallop. It's a fallacy. Let's move on a little bit so that way we can get to the call-ins here in a moment. Oh, he uses Jay as an example. Of course, he's been obsessed with Jay lately. It's so crazy how fixated Roman Catholics become when they lose a debate. It's so
this
weird.
makes it seem to a casual observer like the person being interrupted has no answer, when in reality his opponent is unfairly attacking his ability to give an answer. Watch how Jay Dyer uses this tactic when debating Tim Gordon.
No, this is your dogmatic statements that are supposed to provide clarity.
Right.
They need to be interpreted by you because they're ambiguous.
No.
Are they clear or ambiguous?
Perfectly clear.
We
Hindus
really? You just said it was bad.
The
You said it was bad.
Wait.
Also, what portion of the debate was this? Was this cross-examination or open discussion? of course, you want to get the most talking time that you can, right? In my debate with Yassi, by the time we got to the open discussion, I felt like I had won and I needed to lighten up a little bit or else I would really come off as a bad guy. So then I gave him like a lot more talking time in that open discussion. But like if this is cross-examination, then honestly, Tim Gordon is doing too much talking here. But if it's open discussion, then yeah, you want to dominate the time because you want to win because you think souls are at stake. Duh.
Clear or bad?
You finish, Jay. I'll go after you're done.
They have recourse to God.
Trads will do the same thing.
So just again, what's that?
We have set of
deflection, irrelevant. What's
no, that's a direct object.
That's a genetic fallacy.
That's a direct object.
Genetic fallacy to say that because
not a genetic fallacy.
It is.
I'm a logic professor.
You just said I don't know. So appeal to yourself. Right? Appeal to authority. Appeal to authority. Genetic fallacy.
You missed
another fallacy.
They believe.
You're king of fallacy.
For the record, we agree.
They have recourse.
Oh yeah, this is where the Anglican guy was just sitting there. That was a funny one. Yeah, that was from the Tim Pool show. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I was confused. I thought that was the one with the Rift. Is that the? Yeah, this is the one from Tim Pool's show. That's right. Yeah. So you see a bunch of cope, a bunch of tone policing right now. It's a really weird move, man. Yeah, it just goes on to say that we should be charitable and stuff. Well, there's a time for that and there's a time to fight. So debate was worth it just for Jay exposing that guy as a Mason at the end. Yeah, exactly. So, okay. We have got the Twitter spaces open. He set it up here and not have the flying phone fallacy like last time. We got a few requests to speak. So far, only good guys, though.
What's up, man? How's it going?
What's up, Chase? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. It cracks me up seeing when people do that. Do the whole like throwing over of the chessboard, of debate. And there's so many issues with it, and it's goofy. I always notice that it's sides that are giving up. I don't know if you found that to be true.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a sign that they're giving up. I mean, they have to also justify why they're not doing debates because, and this is something that I've been pushing recently, and I see Jay on X also saying like the fall of Roman Catholic apologists in the last year has been like catastrophic, just like an epic failure for them. So they have to justify this somehow. And it's like, well, they'll just say that debates are not productive. That's why they don't do debates. It's just like more copium for the people that follow them.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because you look at obviously being Orthodox, we think their position is false, but you look at their history and they'll go, oh yeah. And, these debates between, even if they'll appeal to, right, like they'll appeal to Nicaea, Chalcedon, Constantinople too, like all these things where the entire point of this was proving through argumentation and debating that a position is untenable. Now, extrapolate that out to them now, doing a whole, he's doing a weird fallacy where he's saying, it is true that someone their position can still be true, even if their argument is terrible, right? And even if they lose a debate, their position can still be true.
Yeah, it's the fallacy.
Yeah, but if your position is shown to be contradictory, like someone saying everything is relative, right? Or like saying that God's uncreated essence there's no distinction between that and his energies.
Yeah.
And then you try to claim the incarnation at one particular point in time, right? And the Nicene and the Chalcedonian understanding of that does defeat the position. And so it's weird that he's shifting between these things of like, well, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove anything instead of, I don't understand it. And I've seen ecumenists and leftists do that just repeatedly. And it seems like they're just throwing towel.
Yeah, it's how losers talk. That's how you talk when you're losing. I think you got a good point there. It's exactly right.
From like if me and you were like, we went to liturgy, right? Let's say like you were where I live and I was where you live, and we went to liturgy together. We're at coffee hour, and we're talking to some some person who just doesn't have an acumen for debate, which is fine. It doesn't matter. And we just try to convince them that they should start debating everyone and that their faith depends on them debating. That's a different thing, but I just don't get it. It's a weird mentality. It's very strange.
Yeah, I think I lost you a little bit there at the end, but yeah, it's a very strange mentality to just give up on debates. I mean, I learned a lot in debates, man.
Well, and if you can't prove a position is false, then what's the point of calling Roman Catholicism true? And I guarantee you'd say, well, no, I can prove Roman Catholicism's true. But you just said that neither position can actually prove that they're correct in your video.
Yeah, they're ignoring and hand waving away of like system level defeaters is pretty crazy, honestly, because there are just some things that, like you mentioned before, actus purus, and like for Protestants, I think like the epistemic question, these just dismantle the entire system. Nikolai, do you have something to add to that? Go ahead, Nikolai.
He's realized that speaking is pointless.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
There you go.
Microphone defaulted to my camera for some reason, which makes no sense. Anyways, what I was going to say is I think there's been like an almost like subconscious like agreement amongst the what we call Irenic or the very nice guys in the apologetic sphere, both on the Protestant side and the Roman Catholic side, because like I think Gavin Ortlund has done irreparable harm to the apologetic space on his side, because the fact that they're not engaging is not helping the fact that everybody's like, well, are you going to answer to these like these guys are making some really strong points, are you going to answer that? And they just go, oh no, they're just mean. And it's like, eventually, at some point, they got to engage at some point, or they're going to continue to see a complete meltdown of the churches.
Yeah. There's a comment here from Paisios of EO. It says, Father Stephen Young, please, I'm begging you, please make a book on Origen and why he's a heretic. Please, please, I hate seeing neo-Origenist anywhere. Please, Father. Well, he was condemned about 1 billion times, and I was on this topic. It's got my attention because I was just flipping through some of Jerome's letters the other day in this Eterna Press edition of St. Jerome's letters. And there are like 2 letters here back to back talking about like regional synods. So there's a synod in Alexandria condemning Origen. And there's a synod in Rome condemning Origen, like his entire system as a whole.
None of it's going to be good enough for the 15-year-olds that you're concerned about, though, man. Like, it's not. No, seriously. Like, I've been around doing this for years, doing apologetics for years. The same type of 15-year-old that thinks they're going to save the church and that the entire church is corrupt because we reject absolute ABS and we reject, Origen. You're not going to fix them. They just need to actually get under a priest and have their priest be like, no, dummy, stop.
Yeah.
They're not going to listen.
Yeah. And then he was also condemned by ecumenical council, like very thoroughly. He's like one of the most thoroughly condemned heretics there are. Like, and it's not just little pieces. It's his system as a whole. Origenism is condemned. You cannot be Origenist and Orthodox. I don't know how much more clear we can make it. So you're not saving the church, like Chase said. Nikolai?
Well, I mean, it really is just kind of one of those things where if you're not capable of answering to these contentions, what's inevitably going to happen is other systems are going to come into place that are willing to debate. This is what is happening in England. The established churches stopped debating and wanted to be ecumenical with Islam. And then you saw a huge rush of, I wouldn't say massive, but you saw a rush of people join Islam because they seemingly are actually interested in debating, even if it's really, really bad debate. At least they're kind of willing to. These people are just kind of like, they're completely divorced from this. The ecumenism is a poison that poisons every aspect of their way that they engage with people. Trent Horn, he made the argument with that ridiculous gotcha and that ridiculous attempted takedown of Jay and stuff like that. Which he's done 2 videos on Jay, which are really weird, but recently. They haven't engaged in years, and then he says out of nowhere, it's just like, Jay's the worst person on planet Earth. But anyways, the point that I'm trying to get to is that he's using this as like a foil to say, well, we're close enough, and I'm interested in bringing people closer to Jesus. But wouldn't that undermine his own church's position? It's just like there's so much inconsistency. Ecumenism causes you so many more issues rather than just saying, this is what we believe, and we're going to defend this belief. Because at least you make a sharp line in the sand that people can actually choose from, rather than this like amorphous, like we got to be nice and like constantly trying to like work with one another on these things. It's like, okay, at some point it's kind of fruitless in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed. We have Paisios who called in by StreamYard.
What's up?
What's up, dude?
Nothing much, man. Are you good? I don't think my earplugs are good.
Go ahead. Sorry, you're just really quiet.
It's because my earplugs are fucked. Forgive me for swearing. Shit. Damn it.
All right, we'll keep it PG-13. What's up, Paisios?
Oh no, I just hate the fact I keep seeing neo-originist around, and I wanted to see if there was a good just English book on the subject. I was gonna talk to a man called Dr. Tarpley about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like really in-depth treatment of origin anywhere. I guess probably, I think it was the 5th Ecumenical Council. Let me look it up real quick so that I don't give you.
It is the 5th. There are 16 different canons that go over him, plus.
Yeah, did you read through those acts?
Yeah, I've seen the text. It's just, I was wondering if there was like an actual, because some people, if you give them the canons, they'll be like, oh, well, you know, they don't understand what they're talking about. And I was like, is there like an actual saint that I can go to that kind of just refutes, like just goes through all the points, or like a book that does? Because some people, if you give them canons, it doesn't matter to them, especially people like Catholics and Protestants that are the main people pushing the neo-originist stuff.
I would say, one second. I don't know if there's a specific source on this. Father Stephen DeYoung might be more familiar with that. Hold on. Jerome's letter 92 and 95. Maybe give those a read.
All right, thank you.
They're not very in depth, but it might give you a little more what to work with.
Yeah, I just needed something else other than the canons, because I have the what is it, the post-Nicene book, like that, like huge book that has just all the canons of the councils. I have that, but I was wondering if there was like an actual treatise somebody did on it.
There's got to be. I'm sure there's one out there. Somebody must have done their dissertation on this at some point for sure. Sadly, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's why I was asking Father Stephen if you could just write a book on it real quick. You know, just a 200 page book should be easy.
Real quick, yeah.
I mean, I personally think it would be a great book, because a lot of people, there are even some bishops I have heard that are Originists. So.
Yeah, all of Father Stephen DeYoung's books are great. Nikolai, go ahead. And Nikolai in the X spaces said something.
Just the origin thing, because I was listening in on the other side. One of the things that I've always pointed out is that Origenism makes the same, like one of the easiest ways to counteract people that are holding to Origenism is that Universalism strips us of our free will the same way Calvinism does, just in the opposite direction. So you can't hold to free will and be an originist or
Well,
a universalist.
There you go. Yeah. There's
I've
another
also
point.
I've also heard from a buddy of mine who also makes books, and I was trying to talk to him about it, but he's gone like kind of offline for a couple months. He was basically telling me that like Origin has the same problem that Arius did. It's just he was a smart Arian is basically what was told to me, is that there were several teachers that were Arian, but they weren't as dumb as he was. But they did it in a more like university style or however. It's like it starts with an A, but I'm messing up because I'm autistic.
Yeah.
Messing up.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for calling in, Paisios.
All right, thank you, brother. You have a good one. Love you, man. God bless you.
You too. You got D-Town in the X spaces. Oh my goodness. $10 super chat from Alter Void. Thank you, Alter Void. No, Father Stephen DeYoung's next book will be creating us a sci-fi that is not evil, like space elves will be just a different fallen creature with their own grounding in God. Yeah, I think we could use some more orthodox fiction for sure. Oh, looks like we lost this guy in the X spaces. Yeah, it is glitchy. We do have the call-in link on StreamYard. It is available in the chat. You guys want to call in on the YouTube? It is pinned in the chat. Jay Dyer is here. What's up, Jay? How you doing? Glad to see you here, dude. My chat is stacked. My chat is stacked. For real. St. Sophronius' confession at the Sixth Council has a full 4-page refutation of Origen. So that will help out the last guy for sure. And Proto-Deacon Patrick has a book refuting Origen. There we go. Paisios, there's your source. There is a source. Yeah. Thank you, Jay. Jay should call in. Why? So he could refute me on every political view. Jay is like the best debater on YouTube, right? I'm speaking from like a litigator's perspective. He's a very, very good debater. If you're just looking for universalism, there's a Lord of Spirits episode and an interview I did on ancient faith. So there you go, Paisios. Soren Chat W. Confession of St. Sophronius. Paisios, there you go. Confession of St. Sophronius at the Sixth Council is 4-page refutation of the whole system of Origen. Dude, I must have missed this. This must have been earlier. Thank you for the $20 super chat from Jay. Dude, now I've made it in life. I'm getting a super chat from Jay. This is it. I made it, guys. Confession of St. Sophronius at the Sixth Council has a 4-page refutation of the whole system of Origen. We have D-Town in the X spaces requested to speak. See if he can connect here.
Can you hear me, Ron?
Yeah, what is up?
Not much on it. Thank you for having me on. Now that you mentioned the debate scene, I'd say that my 5 cents is that it has been really polluted by TikTok nowadays. So everyone has no attention span, and I guess that's one reason of why debate nowadays is more of a screaming match than an actual discussion, especially with the Muslim scene on TikTok. Seems like modern debating from, let's say, like Talon, like those TikTok apologists now are based only on getting catchphrases in, getting clips, getting that on quip so that they can add like the epic sound effect and just, as you said, get shallow and there's no actual substance there.
Yeah, I think that's why when Eric Ibarra invited me to do like a dialogue, I was like, first of all, I'm punching a little bit above my weight class because he's been doing this a long time. So I would like some time to prepare a little bit if I was going to do a dialogue with him. And also I was like, man, there's no fairer way to do this than in a formal debate where we both have a guaranteed amount of speaking time. I'll be able to make my points. he will be able to make his points. He wants an open dialogue. Throw 30 minutes, an hour in at the end of open dialogue. That's fine. Yeah, there's definitely like a clip culture going around. But like I said at the beginning of the stream, one-liners and rhetoric have always been a thing. Like John Lennox, Christopher Hitchens, like even 10, 20 years ago, we're using one-liners. Cicero, we went through Cicero in the stream. He was a fan of one-liners. Even talks about how eloquent speech might even be a higher virtue than using reason. Right? This is something that's been in my guild, in my profession for a really long time. Jay Dyer with the machine gun of super chats. He's going with the super chats. $5. Proto-Deacon Patrick Mitchell, Revenge of Origin book. Another resource. Paisios. This is for you. Proto-Deacon Patrick Mitchell, Revenge of Origin book. Another $2. Origins Revenge. So he's correcting himself. So Proto-Deacon Patrick Mitchell, Origins Revenge. Yeah, there's definitely a bit of clip culture, and I guess it's getting a little worse nowadays because of all these call-ins, right? How to win an argument? Yell at them louder than they can yell at you. Well, I think people are getting smarter to actually get on top of these tricks. Like, I think there was recently some Dawa apologists tried to get like a clip on God Logic, and it was taken so badly out of context that it ended up looking worse for the Dawa guy in the end when God Logic released the entire clip. What's up, Spec Ops? How you doing? How can I help you this evening, Spec Ops Elite?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Living the dream, my man. Having fun, actually. This the chat is stacked tonight. We have Father Stephen DeYoung, we have Jay, and we're going to be having, at some point, I hope a Marvel Rivals collab stream. That would be the ultimate collab stream. But otherwise, what's on your mind?
I think Cleve has a point there when he had said before about wanting to get more like gamers or EO going. That would probably be a good way to help spread the word around. But I know you mentioned before you're planning on doing a lot of anti-Calvinism videos, and I think that's important. It feels like there's a lot of anti-Calvinist stuff out there already, really poking at a lot of the holes. But I think for the non-Calvinist Protestants, we really need to hammer home things like icon veneration, Marian dogmas, and specifically point to how this is all scriptural. Because I think a lot of the non-Calvinist Protestants are very sympathetic to a lot of Orthodox positions, but those two issues are probably like real big deal breakers for them that they need to kind of get over to be brought in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I am doing a debate with the other Paul at the end of March on icon veneration. And the prompt is, it's something like, is aniconism or iconodulia apostolic? Like, which one is apostolic, right? And I'm really excited for that one because I agree. I think those kinds of debates are important because these are like the final hurdles for people to get into the church, right? So I think those kind of debates are important, and those are the only ones that Protestants seem to be confident enough that like they think they have enough bullets in the gun throughout history to actually use them against us. So it'll be great to see how the turntables work on this one, because I don't know, he said he has a lot of bullets in the gun that he hasn't used yet. I also have a lot of material that I haven't used yet. And I have Nikolai, I have Jay, I have Father Stephen DeYoung, I have the most stacked chat ever. So there's no shortage of minds for me to bounce ideas off of. But I agree with you. We need to focus on these, like in politics, they would be called wedge issues, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think especially too with your debate there with Evan Paul, I saw on Twitter when what's his face, Cameron had come out basically talking about annihilationism, and then I saw him respond. It was like, oh, calling that based. It's like, oh, he's an annihilationist. That might be something you can hit him on.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that kind of took me by surprise for sure. I guess I think Father Stephen DeYoung said something like keeping some sort of relevance in the culture. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yes, those are some good points, Spec Ops. Thank you for calling in, man.
Thank you.
Yep. We got some super chats from Mr. Fist. Or wait, $2. Let's go. I got to go in order. Rock Willivian. Lord of Spirits refuting universalism. What incarnation? So I guess this is a source that is pointed out here. $10 from Mr. Fist. Thank you, Mr. Fist. Online Dawa has collapsed even harder than the RC apologetics in the last couple of years. It is great to see. Yeah. And a lot of that, I think, was due to Jay actually debating like academics and the sheikhs, and obviously all the work of God Logic. He's getting a lot of exposure on his work, and David Wood, as well as Inspiring Philosophy, that group of guys, they did. Oh, and of course, Fearless Truth. Nick from Fearless Truth. Dude, I'm always going to forget somebody, but Nick from Fearless Truth, he's an excellent, very, very good apologist. Danny Town says, I don't disagree with quips, but nowadays they aren't done as a means to end an exchange. They're done to engage zero attention span people. Yeah, that's the thing, is that if you're going to throw in a quip or a one-liner, and this is like the rhetorical use of it, is it will be like a little add-on at the end. You don't want that to actually be the substance of your dish, right? The substance of your dish should be meat and potatoes. It should be rational argumentation. One-liner or rhetorical quip would be like, the sprinkles on top of your sundae, right? So yes, these are very good points. Shane Paisios, $5. Thank you very much, Shane Paisios. Guys, I love Shane. Follow him on Twitter. He shares all of my stuff on X. It's awesome. Every argument from a Calvinist ends like this. Oh, you used to be Calvinist. You obviously never really knew what Calvinism was back then either. Yeah, it's a very arrogant posture they tend to have. Like, oh, we believe in free will in Calvinism. It's like, no, you believe in bondage of the will. You have a whole book, and that's Luther, right? But they also believe in bondage of the will. So, Blaze, what's up, man?
Oh, sorry. I was going to add on. They believe in compatibilism. That's from like John Piper, where your will is freed after God irresistibly, quickens you with the Spirit, right? And so, they believe that after you're saved, after you're quickened by the Spirit, you do have free will, but what's it called? What was I going to say right now? Oh, yeah, and the Roman Catholics, they do the same thing as well. So, like, they did that to Jay. Like, Pine Sap did that to Jay when he was talking with him. Like, you were only...
Pine Sap called into Jay?
Yeah, like, it was like a year ago.
Oh, okay.
They had a dialogue. It was basically like Jay was talking to this Roman Catholic woman or something and whatnot. And I guess like all the papist white knights came in and they were trying to defend her and whatnot. And Pine Sap called in and
Jay, I'm assuming, is just like smacking them all down left and right, just like one at a time.
Yes, and then he just had to just throw in an ad hominem. And Jay wasn't like, he was not calling him any names or nothing or whatnot. But then Pine Sap's like, you were only Catholic for like 2 weeks. Like, he says something like that or whatever. So it's like they say that all the time, bro. If they're losing an argument, like, oh, you weren't really Calvinist or you weren't really Roman Catholic.
Yeah, you don't actually understand this doctrine. It's okay, fine. That's an okay objection to have. But what am I misrepresenting? Like, people don't understand that the point of an objection is to cure your question or to cure what you just said, right? So people will go on, oh, you're just straw manning. So, okay, you have to point out what the straw man is. That's the point of pointing out an objection, so that I can fix the straw man, and then we can go on with the debate. But they just stop there. Oh, that's a straw man. It's just a form of hand waving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I called in because you guys were talking about Marvel Rivals. Bryce J plays Marvel Rivals, so you, Father Steven and Bryce could all play Marvel Rivals together, kind of do like a collab. And whatnot.
Well, I have some people. I need to talk to Bryce J at some point because some people have been. I don't know if they've been misrepresenting Bryce's views or if they've been accurately representing Bryce's views on Augustinian original sin. Maybe that's a conversation worth having. I feel like there's a lot of mystery around this right now.
No, bro, I'm on Bryce's Discord.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the whole, like, he's kind of like against the whole like Latinizer type stuff. So
Good.
He does use some of the like I can't remember, like he does like quote like, some of the Latinizer like the Latinizers that go to like this guy's name Archimandrite Kararin from like Russia or something. Bryce quotes him sometimes too, but yeah, like Bryce kind of pushes back on them. He does agree with them on certain things, like he doesn't believe that, like Augustine taught like filioque or anything.
Okay, that's actually maybe that's something we can talk about because I have Augustine's De Trinitate right here. Bro, did I not underline?
Are you gonna go to book 4?
Is that where it is? I'm in book 5 right now. Is it book 4?
Okay. I believe it is. Yeah, I was reading it yesterday with some of my friends. Yeah, we're kind of discussing it. I mean, and also like we're also reading the part where Augustine talked about the theophanies. And I don't know. I'm kind of like leaning towards like, yeah, he probably did believe that the theophanies were just like angels and stuff and whatnot. But I personally I kind of want to go to the view of like Augustine didn't teach the filioque because Maximus literally says in his letter to Marinus that none of the Latin fathers, none of the fathers of the West ever taught it.
Okay, but St. Photius also says that St. Augustine did teach it. He just didn't teach it dogmatically. So it seems like people are confused on this. I kind of want to get to the bottom of this now that you brought it up, actually. I'm probably going to go through De Trinitate again.
Well, the thing is, the De Trinitate wasn't translated into the Greek until right before Florence. So,
interesting.
So yeah, like none of the Greek fathers ever had access to it. So it's like, I think Photius is just kind of like going off of, just what he's been hearing more or less. I might be wrong on that, but that what's called De Trinitate wasn't translated until before Florence.
Father Stephen the Young says that Saint Augustine repudiated De Trinitate. So it seems like there's a lot going on with this. This is interesting. I would like to get to the bottom of this thing because I hear people saying all kinds of different things. And I feel like Jay and Father Stephen, because Jay has read so much Augustine and Father Stephen DeYoung went to like the top Calvinist seminary. These guys would be very, very qualified to talk about it. But I kind of want to look into it myself. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, dude, definitely, talk to Bryce. It's cool to have these, like, nuanced views, and I totally understand where, like, Jay and Father Stephen is at. Father Stephen, God bless you. I love your work so much. But, yeah, I just want to say that real quick. But, yeah, dude.
Yeah, thank you for calling in, man. Appreciate it. Cool. Okay, we got some super chats here. And some other chats that I just started because I thought they were cool. Yibo says G.K. Chesterton was a master at balancing argumentation and rhetoric. I agree. I think he was very good at balancing argumentation and rhetoric. I read a lot of G.K. Chesterton in my undergrad for that purpose, that I thought he was very good at using both argumentation and rhetoric. $2 from Pufferfish. Thank you, Pufferfish. Appreciate that. An eagle caw for Pufferfish. Who would you like to debate next? In my dream world, a very high-profile Protestant, probably like a very high-profile neo-Protestant. Wes Huff would be like the dream, but obviously that's punching way above my weight class. So I'll just work my way up. I'll debate the other Paul, and you can't skip the work, guys. You got to go through like every single rung on the ladder. So yeah, that Wes Huff would be like my dream debate. But yeah, neo-Protestant, I think. Father Stephen DeYoung says, yeah, but post-regeneration, you still only do what God decreed you would do. He's talking about Calvinism. Post-regeneration, you still only do what God decreed you would do. Compatibilism is just the idea that God gaslights you into thinking you're free. That's my take. I remember being like 15 and hearing about this idea for the first time, and I'm like, oh, so it's just determinism. It just appears to you as if it's not determinism. It's just a divine gaslighting, I guess, if I could word it that way. $4.99 from We Are the Remnant 777. Thank you for the super chat. Have you read the Fourth Lateran Council, which states in the third paragraph of the first Constitution? He sent another $9.99 super chat to complete that. He says, nobody can effect this sacrament except a priest who has been properly ordained according to the church's keys, which Jesus Christ himself gave to the apostles, plural, and their successors. Yeah, that's true. And Roman Catholics have to believe this. It's not optional. They have to believe that every single apostle has the keys. It's their Fourth Lateran Council. It's not an option, right? But they pretend as if it is. And then they fall into this I am of Cephas paradigm, which is like, that's really what all their arguments reduce to. It's the papacy. It's like, I have confidence that I'm in the right church because I am in communion with St. Peter. But they're not, because their church has deviated so far. Obviously, they're not a canonical church anymore because of their heresy of the Filioque and azymes and a bunch of other things that contributed to the schism. Now they have heresies on top of heresies because they basically accepted Barlam's position on Actus Purus and divine simplicity, and they have a lot of problems right now. It would be nearly impossible for them to join back to the Holy Orthodox Church. Another $2 from We Are the Remnant 777. Thank you. But Mackeys were given to Peter alone. Yeah, their own ecumenical councils refute this. Augustine copies multiple arguments from Plotinus and De Trinitate for Filioque. Yeah, Joe Farrell covers this in extensively. Or Farrell, I think is the way to pronounce his name. I think Jay is correct on this. This is the same conclusion that Farrell came to, and just from like my reading, that it lines up. Right? Just read Soshinsky on the. I'm missing some pearls of wisdom here. Augustine obviously taught Filioque. That was my impression when I was reading through De Trinitate. I think some of the folks on that like Latinizer side are saying that Augustine was talking about eternal manifestation, like some sort of energetic procession through the sun, but that doesn't. Lyons and Florence cite Augustine for Filioque. And why is a new convert telling everyone what Augustine taught? And that's a good point. That's a good, I mean, especially like of all the church fathers, Augustine, like as if you're a new convert and you read St. Ignatius' 7 epistles, you go with talk to your spiritual father, you do a lot of research. Like, let's say you have some sort of professional background in, like analyzing texts or in theology or in philosophy or something. Maybe you're qualified to talk about like St. Ignatius, but St. Augustine, there's so much reading to understand what St. Augustine taught. Like, of all the church fathers, that would be the person that I'd be like most hesitant to comment on for sure. Peter's keys. Double eternal hypostatic procession is in De Trinitate. Okay, so you heard it here first, folks. Double hypostatic procession is in De Trinitate. The letter to Marinus isn't the end of the debate. Just read Soshinsky. Yeah, that's I haven't quite had the time to go through his Filioque book because since I was debating Yassi, I went through Soshinsky's papacy book at length, but I do have the Filioque book here on Jay's recommendation. So I like Soshinsky and I like his writing style as well. It's a very good writing style. So, geez, the terrible takes on compatibilism are worse than the provisionists. I like the provisionist critiques of Calvinism, but I don't really know what their affirmative position is. Wasn't St. Augustine like, please don't publish my De Trinitate, and some troll did it anyways? Might be likely. Jay again says, Augustine copies multiple arguments. Oh, yeah. Multiple arguments from Plotinus and De Trinitate for Filioque. I covered that already. Joe Farrell talks about this at length as well. Dude, I'm behind in the chat. Alex, didn't you know the hand wave the argument that contradicts his papally approved? Yeah. $10 super chat from Jay Dyer himself. On there, De Trinitate is the source of lions in Florence for double eternal procession, and it's there. Augustine even borrows Filioque arguments in the book from Plotinus. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if there's anybody I would trust on this, like Jay has done the work and he's done the readings. So Augustine was African Black Hang from Good Godfather GGF. Dude, my chat is stacked. We have all the best minds in here. It says, so that they don't know, this shows these people haven't actually read De Trinitate. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. You can never replace the like podcasts help, conversations help, classes, seminars, videos, they all help, but nothing replaces actually working through the text yourself. Nothing replaces that. My saint's name is Augustine, and I barely made a dent in his I barely made a dent in his writings. I want to read all of City of God, but I don't. Jay has a good video on City of God, actually. He is like a 2-part video. What's up, Nicholas?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, okay. I was making sure because I've exited off Streamlabs like 3 times by accidentally hitting the back button on my phone, and I feel like a total dork right now.
No, you're good. Another $5 super chat from Jay, actually, real quick, says Augustine's argument for absolute divine simplicity are also Plotinian. Yeah, I have marked here in my copy of De Trinitate that section on absolute divine simplicity. There was a certain passage in book 5 that stuck out to me on that. But yeah, and in his confessions, I think Augustine is very open that he almost says, like, thank God that I learned philosophy before learning about theology, because now all my philosophy can inform my theology. And he was talking about it as if it's in a good way. So all the best minds, the biggest minds. This is from Shane Paisios. All the best minds, the biggest minds ever in Alex's chat. That's my horrible Donald Trump impression. Jay's is way better than mine. But what's on your mind, Nicholas?
Yeah, I've been having some problems with this argument I've been presented, and it was like an argument from the Council of Carthage about what is understood by Augustine's view of original sin.
Okay.
And basically, this Protestant came to me and said, "Oh, the Orthodox are Pelagian."
How are we Pelagian? Pelagianism teaches that you can achieve salvation without God, without grace, on your own. We do not believe that you can achieve paradise on your own. So I've heard people accuse us of semi-Pelagianism. To that I would ask, like, what is semi-Pelagianism, first of all, and which council anathematized semi-Pelagianism? Because they just make things up on that. Semi-Pelagianism, I feel like, is a made-up term from, like, I don't know, very recently.
Yeah. Well, the reason for this statement is that a certain person, I've already said, but he says that original sin defined by the ecumenical councils as such, which is accepted by the 6th and 7th Council, the Council of Carthage, says, for no otherwise can be understood by what the apostle says, by one man sin came into the world, and death through sin, so death is past, and all of the sin that the Catholic Church everywhere diffused, as always they have understood it, for on account of this rule of faith, even infants inherit this guilt, or not guilt, but sin. Not sin in the sense of inherited guilt, but sin in of the fact that it's what's it called? Ancestral sin. Yeah, ancestral sin.
Where was that from? Some Council of Carthage?
Yeah, it was from Council of Carthage 419.
Why would I care about a regional council when I have an ecumenical? It's like so
because it's accepted at the 6th and 7th councils.
The 6th council has Maximus's disputation with Pyrrhus, and that's where we get human anthropology from.
Right.
From that theology laid out and accepted by the council. So when you say that this Council of Carthage was accepted by the 6th Ecumenical Council, what do you mean? Do you mean like the canons were accepted, or does it explicitly go through and say like this doctrine on ancestral sin? Because there are a lot of things that are accepted by councils that are like specific or general. And then sometimes I talked about this on an earlier stream, in law, sometimes there's this thing called conflict of laws, where like in these mass ratifications, you'll see that some laws are conflicting. Like some canon lists might be, there might be numerous lists of the biblical canon that are ratified at a council. And there are some that would be more authoritative than others, right? So like at the Council of Trullo, the most authoritative canon list there would be the Council of Carthage canon list, because all the other canon lists are just like individual saints.
Right. Right. I completely agree. Like, I think it's a false understanding of original sin and interpreting it into the Carthage's canon. It says, I can't remember who made the statement, but he said, it was from Father Romanides in his book. He said this canon, which is Carthage 419, he says that it states that infants are free of guilt of any personal sin, but nevertheless need to be baptized. This completely precludes the understanding of original sin understood by St. Augustine and the heterodox West that eventually further innovated upon his errors. Other than this canon, the council did not further define original sin and does not uphold any of St. Augustine's teachings on the topic, which is from Father Romanides' book.
Yeah, I mean, I take Father Romanides' take over, some teenagers on X, but
absolutely. But what's crazier is that he comes to me in a later conversation and says that the OSB translation of the Bible is heavily inspired by him, therefore it's Pelagian.
Oh my goodness. I don't think these people know what Pelagianism is. They just kind of throw the term around willy-nilly.
It's funny because his definition of what Pelagianism is, he gets from his reverend at a conservative, quote, Anglican church.
Oh, why?
I know. It's funny. It's funny to me. It's like I don't know. It's from a book. It's from a book of one of the reverends from the said Anglican parish. It says Pelagius's doctrines may be stated thus: that Adam's sin injured only. This is their definition. This is their definition of what they believe to be Pelagianism. Is that Adam's sin injured only himself, so that there is no such thing as original sin, and therefore infants who are not born in sin and the children of wrath, but are born innocent and only need baptism so as to knit into Christ, not for the remission of sins as declared in the creed. Further, he taught that man could live without committing any sin at all, and for this there was no need for grace. Indeed, grace was not possible. According to his teaching, the only grace which he would admit the existence of was what we may call external grace, etc. The example of Christ, the teaching of his ministers, and the like. Petavius, I can't say that name, but indeed he thinks that allows the activity of internal grace to illumine the intellect, but this seems quite doubtful. And that's their definition of what Pelagianism is, which is pretty outspoken, but I don't think it's the case.
For sure. Yeah. I agree.
I mean, and they look through the decrees of Dositheus, the Russian recension. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. And then Mogila, the Orthodox Confession.
Mogila, yes.
Mogila, and Nicodemus, the Hagurite, the rudder.
Yeah, they should not be reading the rudder. It's like it's not for them.
Right. Right. And he quotes what's funny.
Study Christology and it will solve this because humans have a human energy.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't my view, just to be clear. This is just some random Anglican. I just thought it was completely silly to accuse the New King James version of the Bible as being plagiarized.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he basically says Mogila, Nicodemus, the Dositheus Greek and Russian recensions of Decree 16 says that all these people affirm their view of original sin.
Yeah, that's absolute nonsense.
It's crazy. I wanted to explain it to him further without even saying anything because he's just somebody I like he's a friend of mine. I don't want to be mean to the guy, but I probably have to be.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate that. What's up, Nikolai in Korea? I think your mic is you're lagging a little bit. We'll go through some super chats here. We got $5 super chat from Jay. Says there is no energies doctrine in Augustine. Yeah. Augustine like very explicitly has react. I remember that for sure. Thank you, Jay, for the $5. Jay is the man, dude. He's reviving my super chat stream over here. Octavian gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Octavian. I appreciate that. Nemini for $5. Thank you, Nemini. Why did I renew my free membership? I should have waited for Octavian to send me another one. And Good Godfather GGF, thank you for $9.99. Good Godfather. You ever spent much time on early Roman law dealing with heresy post edict of Thessaloniki? Many people believe Orthodox slaughtered Gnostics, and I feel like Justinian's law refutes that myth. Thoughts? Sadly, I am more or less clueless on this topic, but I will make a note here myself to look into it. I appreciate the $9.99. I wish I could give you a little more on post early Roman law dealing with heresy post edict.
I have a little bit on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so Byzantine law, if you actually, I don't know if you've ever read anything about Byzantine law or just this Justinian's like reforms, law reforms. But
yeah, it was
as
a big
lawyer,
mess, and he reformed it together into one coherent code.
I think Good God is onto it right there. Based on I'm surface level readings, but based on what I've read, there was a clear like court of law essentially that he took it out of the civil magistrate's hands and allowed the church to guide it in that way. So it was actually the opposite. It wasn't just this like random, like anybody who's accused of being a Gnostic is immediately going to be like put to death or anything like that. So Saint Justinian is like massively hated by ecumenists in particular, especially Origenists. They have a stick to like paint him as this mass genocidal maniac. So
all right, there we go. Thank you for the super chats, everybody. I appreciate that. Your support is welcomed and appreciated. Shout out to Father Stephen DeYoung's book, Religion of the Apostles. Another fantastic, insightful read. If anyone hasn't read it yet, yeah, I think it's a great, gives you a good biblical foundation and like the basics of Orthodox belief. Paisios, back again. What's up, dude?
I'm up.
Yes, sir. Did you get those recommendations from earlier? Jay came in with like a few recommendations in the chat.
Well, it's good to be here. This was first off, thank you for all your work you've been doing so far.
Oh, thank you. Are you a different Paisios than the one that called in
different.
earlier?
I'm a different one.
Oh, okay, all right, my bad.
Here's the thing though.
Sure.
See, as a Roman Catholic, my main question is what about the keys? What about the keys?
What about that is the age-old question, right? What about the keys? Yeah, but who has the keys?
Because either way, because I remember that that council has said that like the Jesus Christ gave the keys to the apostles, right?
Yeah, plural. That's the
Because
Fourth
prophets,
Lateran Council. Yeah, each
feel
apostle has
like-
the keys. It says that in Matthew 18 as well. Like Matthew 18:19, 18:18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what a Roman Catholic might say is like, oh yeah, all the apostles had the keys, but it was through Peter. But the only problem with that argument is like, okay, but why is Rome the only one that gets the special privileges?
Well, on its
to
face, the
the
Fourth
other
Lateran one says that it goes from Christ to the apostles. The only way that you can say that it's through Peter is by some sort of interpolation.
Yeah. And there's actually an argument that I was like trying to like work through, because I have made the terrible mistake of engaging in or watching the brain rot that is Unitarian content. And so this is something I formulated. I just don't see how a Unitarian really goes about refuting or even getting around the argument at all. Which is
I think there are basic things that they ignore, like the multiple Yahwehs in the Old Testament. And I think Bo Branson in his essays, Bo Branson directly addresses Dale Tuggy and these like Unitarian types, and his work would be really good on this.
Yeah. How do you spell that? I want to read this stuff because I like to read when I have the time.
Yeah.
Because also another thing is that I think this is very simple, is that if God is only one person, how does he love eternally while also being immutable? It doesn't really make a lot of sense, because love naturally acquires at least another subject. So you have to say that there is some subject you love eternally, whether it be matter, which makes no sense, another person, which either leads to Trinity or two divine sources, which is polytheistic. So
yeah,
I just don't see how you really make an argument for, oh, we believe that God is one person, because that's the most righteous thing, is that God is one person. Never's been three. And Saint
it's
Saint
usually just
Constantine
like very
was a pagan.
dogmatic style assertions.
So
yeah.
But yeah. That was it. But thank you again for all the work, and I see Nikolai in Korea. Thank you again for your work, and all the people that are doing the apologetic work to spread the one holy Catholic Apostolic Church.
Yeah,
So,
thank you, man.
Thank you very
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, actually, I just wanted to, because there was a huge debate between Father Stephen, Jay, and some other people in the chat. You were probably seeing that about the ancestral sin stuff and whatnot. I think it's really simple. Again, I always point this out. It's right there. Okay? It's not difficult, guys. They break it down into 5 parts on the OSB, Orthodox Study Bible. And it says here in number 2, we who are of Adam's race are not guilty because of Adam's sin, but because of our own sin. However, all mankind fell away from the grace of God through Adam's disobedience. And now we have a propensity, a disposition, and an inclination towards sin, because just as death entered the world through sin, now sin enters through the fear of death. And then I just wanted to add that, they have this obsession, and I think the heart of somebody when they have an obsession about a specific thing, and they always want to argue the maximalist position, which is infants by necessity are damned, which of course no church father holds to, except for I think St. Augustine speculated on. I don't think he was doggedly on that position though. And I think that's the biggest problem here, is that when you have to frame your entire worldview around that one issue, and that's all you focus on, you miss the forest for the trees, the Orthodox mindset, the way that we approach these things. And I think Jay's correct. The obsession shows pre-less. And I want to just note that St. Nectarios talks about ancestral sin in his Holy Orthodox Catechism's Collected Works, Volume 14, Chapter 7. And he breaks it down. It's very, very self-evidently not their position.
Dude, are there some people that disagree in the chat that are not calling in? That is banned. That is not permitted in my chat. If you disagree, you have to call in.
Yeah, I think it was Palamite Fanatic was disagreeing, and I guess he won't call in. But I think the other thing is you've heard of, I can never pronounce this, so I'm gonna send it to you since you're Romanian. You might have a better time with it. This term I can never pronounce properly, and I think that understanding that properly will help people understand.
Epictasis?
Yes, can't say it. Won't say it. Say it one more time for me.
Epictasis?
Epictasis, yes. That is the Orthodox understanding of the eschaton. It's completely distinct from the Catholic understanding of the beatific vision, right? So I think that a lot of people misunderstand what exactly we are being saved into. Like, what is paradise? What is the eschaton? And that is actually going to influence all of the other things that you talk about surrounding that, including atonement, including sin, including the fall. So anyways, I just wanted to bring that up, and then I'll jump off and let you debate some of these guys.
We'll see if they jump in. They're not in the queue, but I think that's a good point. I think my attitude towards eschatology, at least when I was a Protestant, was like, oh, it doesn't really matter. Nobody can really know anyway. But then I realized as an Orthodox Christian, well, no, this is just another area of theology that influences all other areas of theology. Right. Send the StreamYard again, because I think it unpinned. All right, bet I can do that. Yeah, eschatology is very, very important. It's not unpinned. I can see it right here.
Yeah, I can see it too. I just checked on your stream.
I will repin it. All right, Jesus, take the wheel.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, man? Thanks for calling in. Sorry for waiting. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, of course, no problem. Hey, I just came over from Cleve's live stream with Father Peter Hears. And they were talking about how so many people are convicted with orthodoxy in their heart, but they can't work out the things in their mind quite yet. But I just wanted to thank you real quick, because your channel has helped me so much with the intellectual problems. But
thank you. I appreciate that.
I did have one question real quick.
Sure.
It's funny because when I saw your title of your live stream, it said chill stream. I thought it said Kiliasm.
Yeah, that's also a heresy.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's actually one of the doctrines that I had to kind of really go through a lot to put away, to actually consider orthodoxy, because it's something I had become very attached to. So my question is basically, where do you think Kiliasm came from? Because the earliest disciples of the apostles believed in it.
Did they?
Yes, Barnabas, Papias.
Do you know Barnabas wrote Barnabas?
What's that?
Do you know that Barnabas wrote Barnabas?
I mean, not, with absolute certainty.
I mean, with reasonable certainty. Is there some consensus or something that Barnabas wrote Barnabas?
As far as I know, that's the consensus. But several early church fathers talk about the 1,000-year period of revelation being literal, and like a physical reigning of saints on this earth and such. And so I'm just curious where you think that idea came from, if it's not apostolic.
I have T.L. Frazier here, who's an Orthodox Christian, who wrote this book called A Second Look at the Second Coming, where he talks about the origins of Kiliasm. So I'm just going to read to you what he says. He says, the earliest proponent of millenarianism, or Kiliasm, comes from someone not otherwise noted for being particularly attached to Orthodox Christianity. His name was Cerinthus, and he flourished in Asia Minor, an area that would become a hotbed for Kiliasm around the end of the 1st century. His teachings combined the heresies of the Ebionites with the strange speculations of Gnosticism. In particular, he taught that the world was created by a perverse angel that held his creation in bondage. Then he has a bunch of other strange teachings. But thus, the earliest proponent of millenarianism, Kiliasm, appears to have come from outside the church. The earliest proponent of Kiliasm within the church is Papias of Hierapolis, which that matches up with what you're saying. Papias was born sometime before AD 80, so he gives some background on Papias here. And his conclusion is basically, so he talks about like Irenaeus mentioning Chiliasm and Saint Justin Martyr. He talks about like geographic proximity between all of these people. He says, unsurprisingly, Papias, Irenaeus, Saint Justin Martyr, they received the Christian faith in Asia Minor in Ephesus. Their exposition of Chiliasm, it was talking about Saint Justin Martyr. His exposition of Chiliasm is in dialogue with Trypho. I'm trying to get to the conclusion for you here. He also mentions the Epistle of Barnabas. But this book would be the book that you want to go to. And basically he says that this area where Chiliasm came out of in Asia Minor is the same place, like basically the same area where you see Montanism. And this geographic area was like a hotbed for these heresies. So basically Chiliasm came from outside the church, influenced the inside of the church. And he covers that at length in chapter 3 in this book, A Second Look at the Second Coming, seeing through the speculations by T.L. Frazier. That would be the book to look
I'm
to
definitely
for it.
gonna have to check that book out. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I
this
don't-
chapter is like very in depth. He goes through like all those sources that you mentioned. It is like a bit of a Gordian knot. Like you kind of have to untangle the whole thing. Because you're right, there are a lot of sources that mention Chiliasm, but for me, like the important ones that don't mention Chiliasm, the Didache has a section on eschatology and the end times. It doesn't mention a 1,000-year reign. Saint Cyprian cites to Revelation in his letters, which I think is like pretty interesting to have such an early pre-Nicene church father citing to Revelation as scripture. He never mentions 1,000 years in his letters or Chiliasm. So you see that like this Chiliasm seems to have some to be locked in geographically, at least in that Asia Minor part.
I see. Gotcha. So, I don't know if you knew this, but like the people who still hold to Chiliasm nowadays, you know, they've had to follow some things like the implications and through lines and everything. And I think it was maybe I can't really say the name. Hegepsis. I can't remember how to say it, but
Okay.
in about the year 300, he said that Christ will come in about 200 years, and that's about when the fall of Rome took place. And the Chilialists really associated their eschatology with Rome being the fourth beast of Daniel. And so basically there's this framework that the 1,000-year period took place from 500 to 1500 AD. And then that the little season, the season of deception in Revelation, is the removing of that from history. And so we can't see it anymore or something along those lines. But it was actually, I had the thing that made me reject Chiliasm was realizing just how absurd that claim sounded, because if we don't know that, or if we misremember what took place within a whole 1,000-year period of relatively recent history, then we can't trust anything in history whatsoever. And we can't even trust that Christ came. So,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Father Stephen DeYoung says that for Papias, we have only, or Papias, I'm sorry, we have only secondhand quotes. Saint Irenaeus didn't actually teach it. That's a misreading. So
Gotcha. Okay.
There's that as well.
Well, that all helps very much. I
He
appreciate
also says Saint Irenaeus didn't teach it. Papias, we don't know for sure. And Chiliasm does not equal premillennialism. So, well, but yeah, this book, T.L. Frazier is an Orthodox Christian. Ancient Faith sells this. Second Look at the Second Coming. I thought it was very helpful. It's there is a little section on like the Orthodox view of the eschaton, but it's mostly about dispensationalism and the error, like how did it come about, the errors of it, and that chapter 3 talks about like ancient Chiliasm. So I think it'll be very, very useful for you on this issue.
Hey, appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks for calling in, man. We have Pretend Philosopher in the queue here, but it says device is not connected. There's like some kind of error. So I think you need to leave and rejoin or something. Danny Town, what's up, dude?
Yeah, not much. Just a quick comment, since there are some people saying some very well things in the chat. So Bryce has actually said his position on original sin on stream before. He said,
Can I say, like, I don't know what Bryce's position is. There's just like people that have told me. I'm not trying to talk smack about anybody. I don't know what his position is. It's something I would have to talk to him about it because I don't know.
He said he holds to San Dimitris Staniloa's view on original sin, and that's it.
I feel like Saint Staniloae teaches ancestral sin. I feel like original sin has like a lot of baggage. There's a lot of baggage attached to that term.
Yeah, no, he definitely said that on stream, that he holds to his view, and he just refers to him basically. So anyone else that said he's a Latinizer, it's basically lying.
Good. I think Staniloae has a really good view. I know that he says that as for infants that aren't baptized, we leave that up to the mystery of God, and we trust God with that. And he teaches that sin does not have ontology very, very explicitly. That's like a very big thing for him.
Yeah, just basically the position of the church, but you know how these people are obsessed with it.
Yeah, and I don't want to say something wrong about somebody, you know, so just I have all these people telling me, like all these Latinizers coming in, and they're like, well, Bryce agrees with me, Bryce, and they're just throwing around Bryce's name. And it's unfortunate if there's like some sort of misunderstanding or miscommunication here.
Yeah, but you should reach out to him. That could be a very fruitful conversation. And yeah, that's gonna be it from me.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for calling in, man. So, Pretend Philosopher in the private chat here says, "Is my audio blocked also?" It literally says devices not connected. So, when you click on the link, it'll ask you to connect your mic and your camera. You're going to have to give it permissions for all those things. So Bryce is an authority. I mean, both myself and Bryce and Jay, we are all not appealing to authority, like the fallacy, but you know, it's Orthodox teachings. It's not our own personal private teachings. Pretend Philosopher says, okay, I will try. I'm not great with tech. Let me try. Yeah, it's going to ask you are you on your phone or on your computer? Because it will ask you for permissions for your mic and for your camera. You have to give it the permissions. If you're on your phone, yeah, it'll probably give you a prompt where it'll say, do you agree to give permissions for your mic and your camera? Yeah. You have to say yes. Bryce J is a Chad nerd. I think Bryce is a bit of a brainiac, so yeah. Father Stephen, wasn't Revelation accepted in the East and then quietly set aside after the 4th century? I don't think it was accepted until St. Andrew's commentary on Revelation, because he's the one that actually taught people how to read it. Jesus Takes the Wheel says, Alex, thanks for addressing my question. I'm an inquirer, by the way. Would appreciate prayers as I journey more into the true faith. You heard it here, chat. Please keep Jesus Take the Wheel in your prayers. He is but an inquirer. You'd appreciate prayers as he journeys more into the true faith. Remember to pray for him tonight. Okay. So hopefully we can get somebody who disagrees to call in, but otherwise, great stream so far, guys. I just went through that one. So frustrating when people say, but they said original sin, not ancestral, as if a word can't have different meanings. A baby goat is a kid, but your kid is not a baby goat. Yeah. I think it's important to make sure that we choose our words carefully, for sure, because there's a lot of baggage for each of these terms. Like when I hear people talking about penal substitutionary atonement, and they're like, yeah, but we don't mean the Reformation doctrine. We just mean that there's a substitutionary element, there's an atonement element, and there's a punishment element. I'm like, why are you using the term penal substitutionary atonement then? And also, please point out the punishment element, please. So stop running, Alex. I know I'm trying. I'm not that good. But got a $2 super chat from Shane Paisios. So many Paisioses these days. Common St. Paisios W. Yes, that's right. And then Octavian with the 5 gifted membership. We'll do Eagle Caw and the Gong for that. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. It's funny when they preach PSA, some Latinizers said they meant PSA the same way as a Calvinist. Yikes. I don't think you can. There's too many entailments if you're going to use PSA as a Calvinist would say it. That's pretty ridiculous. PGA says, my first video I watched of Bryce was him proving to a Muslim that St. Justin taught Nicaea 1 Christology, and his knowledge of St. Justin had me like he's one smart. I mean, I think you can get that from a basic reading of his first apology. The only questionable statement would be like that there's one that comes first is the Father, the one that comes second is the Son, the one that comes third is the Holy Spirit. That's not teaching an ontological subordinationism. It's teaching the sequence of revelation. So Father Stephen says that even in the 9th century, Saint Nikephoros, the confessor of Constantinople, listed Revelation as a disputed book. That's why it's not read liturgically. Yeah, it took a long time for Revelation to be accepted in the East. I'm pretty sure it's because they didn't really know how to read it. They needed that commentary from Saint Andrew before they really gave it a full, widespread acceptance, full-fledged acceptance. So Father Stephen shows my goldfish memory. I read that book. I thought that's what she said. It was set aside and viewed with suspicion till St. Andrew's commentary. Yeah, it's exactly right. Bryce J is the goat of recalling church father citations and historical context. He seriously impresses me with his recollection sometimes. Yeah, I think if you're going to do this line of work, you do need really good recall. And that's why I'm very interactive with the books that I read, because that helps recall, right? So you need that. St. Andrew of Crete? No, it's not. I think it's St. Andrew of Caesarea, if I remember correctly. Yeah, St. Andrew of Caesarea. That would be like the early mid 600s or something. And then it's basically St. Andrew of Caesarea's commentary on Revelation is like the definitive reading of Revelation for the Orthodox. You can also plug Father Stephen DeYoung's Whole Counsel of God podcast here. He went through the book of Revelation on his Whole Counsel of God podcast. I usually remember lines of arguments when I read church fathers rather than citations themselves. Yeah. Well, here's the thing with citations is that you really, especially if you're doing casual stuff, you don't need the exact like page number, letter, or whatever. There are some key things you have to remember. Like I remember when I'm discussing the papacy, it's like St. Cyprian's letter 33 says that Matthew 16 applies to all the bishops. That's really important. His letter 72 is where he says to it was Pope Stephen, they have shared rank, right? In Eusebius, church history, that's where he talks about the Quartodeciman controversy. Like, yeah. There are fathers in the first 3 centuries who utilized it, Revelation, but it wasn't being used liturgically until Alexandria in the 4th century, and it migrated into the Coptic side of Chalcedon. So, very good. What's up, Paisios?
Hello.
How you doing,
Hello,
man?
Alex. Oh, I just wanted to say that other Paisios is not me, and I did
Yes.
see all of your recommendations, and I was actually it was super heartwarming to see actually Jay, spend like $30. Say like, like thank God. I'm like, I've been looking into this because I went to a monastery for a couple months, and
Okay.
I was trying to look into Origin with their library, and they didn't really have anything. They had like what Origin had to say on like different parts of the Bible, but I'm like, I don't care about that. I need to know like what the saints talked about it. So
Right. Yeah.
I need to find the books like that. So glory to God. Thank you all for so much help. That was amazing. So I love you guys. Thank you.
Look at that. We all came together and we were able to put together some recommendations for you. Father Stephen DeYoung says we need to disambiguate the paisioi. That's awesome.
Trust the lawyer.
Yeah, that's right.
Will you ever do like a full just Romanian video where your spiritual father or both of you just talking Romanian the whole time and then just upload it?
I've had some requests for it, like some Romanian audience people, because I know like the Pentecostal movement and a lot of street preachers in Romania right now. Actually, I've been seeing the reels on TikTok and on Instagram. So people have been asking for like Orthodox apologetics in the Romanian language. But here's my thing: is that I was raised in America, and I'm a little self-conscious about my accent. Like my Romanian is a little broken, so it's like it's enough for me to get by when I visit there for a few weeks, or if I'm making small talk over here. But to do like theological topics, I would need a little bit of practice. So I'm not opposed to it, but it's not something I am eagerly jumping into right now. But in the future, for sure, definitely there's something for it.
Is he an American Romanian monk, or is he like straight up in the motherland, Romania?
He was assigned as a parish priest here like 4 or 5 years ago, and he was a priest at the Patriarchal Cathedral in Bucharest before that. So like a pretty nice gig. He had a lot of one-on-one time with Patriarch Daniel, so he's a very, very good resource for all things Orthodox. And I think it was really providential that I stumbled into his parish when I was an inquirer, because I'm coming at this from like, initially it was a very intellectual, rational angle. And then after that, the experiential part takes over, right? Because that's kind of the standard progression, is that you're infatuated with orthodoxy by the intellectual coherence, and then you join up, and then it's like, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of spiritual depth to this and experiential learning as well. So he is very purely Orthodox. He knew from the time that he was like 14 or 15 that he was going to be a monk and he wanted to be a priest. There was like really no other calling that he entertained other than that. So he's like a very good counterbalance to me, where he is like very, very purely Orthodox, very monastic. He never really considered anything else. So he is certainly a blessing in my life.
Glory to God. But we all know, actually, Alex, that all of us came through the ortho TikTok edits with the icons. We all came through those, right?
Yeah. That's right.
I would love to hear what your spiritual father has to say about the Moldova situation. I don't know how much that he can talk about that, but the Romanian patriarch is kind of doing some wrong stuff over there. But that's a little bit of church drama. I don't know if you want
to I'm not too knowledgeable on that, but he probably would be. I don't know, like the more recent stuff, if he would have that much information or that much to share on it. But yeah, he's very knowledgeable on what's going, the standard goings on in the church.
Oh, well, thank you for allowing me to hop on. Super grateful for all of your guys' help. It's amazing. You have the same infatuation with your spiritual father as I do for hopefully my future spiritual father, which is a monk in America that I'm hoping to go under and try and be a monastic under him. But you never know if that might actually happen. So, but thank you, Alex. I just want to say that, yeah, this is me. I have the creepy profile picture of the white guy. It's actually from the movie 2011.
Okay.
From the disaster movie 2011, because my old Catholic friend mocked me by saying that I look like this guy. So.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah. Anyway,
Cool.
Love you guys.
All
Pray
right.
for me. I'll be praying for you. Bye.
Thanks. All right, you heard it here, guys. Pray for Paisios. Paisios who called in. This Paisios. Pray for all the Paisioi. I think I'm going to end it here, guys. 199 super chat from Roha Trades. Thank you for the super chat. Do you believe the Marian apparitions in Zaytun? I believe they saw something. I am not quite convinced that it was the Theotokos, but I would have to review that evidence again. But from what I've seen, it seems they saw something. That's all that I feel really comfortable to say. Which version of On the Trinity do you have? Thanks. From Your Mom's Lasagna 199. This Augustine one I just got off of Amazon. There are many On the Trinities. I have Augustine's. I have St. Hilary's. Hilary of Poitiers. What publisher is this? This might just be like generic Amazon. Veritas Splendor Publications. Translated by Reverend Arthur West Haddon. An Honorable Canon of Worcester. Revised and annotated by William Shedd. Don't know if that helps. Yeah. I'd say St. Hilary of Poitiers has a better on the Trinity than St. Augustine, but it's very long. W stream, Alex. Thank you, Shane Paisios. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. God bless the Soaring Eagles. That's right. Yes. I don't see a problem with Zaytun. No new doctrine revealed. Apparition didn't contradict faith, lead to spiritual pride or delusion. Increased devotion was local, not universal or dogmatic. I mean, yeah. Okay, pray for Father Christopher at St. George Church. I got to start like a running list or something that I keep on the side here. He's got a nasty cold. Pray for Father Christopher, guys. Good Godfather with the Eagles. Yes. Worcestershire sauce. Dude, that's such a hard word for me to say. I don't know why. Awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for all the super chats. And yeah, we learned a little bit about Gavin Ortlund and Wes Huff, the Protestant position, and Trent from the Roman Catholics. They are giving up on debates, guys, and they're trying to tone police us. They're trying to tone police us. So Octavian with the 5 gifted. Yo, let's do the eagle with the gong to close out the stream here. So best Trinity books are St. Gregory's Theological Orations. Yes, those are very good. St. Basil's on the Holy Spirit. Yes. And St. Gregory of Nyssa's on Not Three God. Dude, those are the 3. Yeah, those are the 3 I would recommend for sure. So Octavian is the arch eagle. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll probably do another reaction stream this week, sometime some more call-ins. Maybe we'll get some more people that disagree. Maybe I'm not stirring up enough trouble on Twitter. Maybe I need to stir up more trouble on Twitter. People don't want to come and debate. They don't want to have their ideas challenged. They are afraid. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.